go away with you. Forever in my mind, only you. The pieces in my life run away with you. You're my first love. You're my first love. You're my first love. You're my first love.
Hello and welcome to coverage of round 13 of the FSR World Series race from Singapore. I'm James Tucker. Joining me shortly in the commentary booth will be McGlade. He's just got home. I believe this is Q1 session right now. I'm a bit new to the World Series this year. I haven't been following it, I haven't been commentating on it, so I will need a bit of slack cut for me about who are the fast drivers and such in World Series this year. Having said that, I'm also watching touring cars right now, which is a bit of an odd experience due to a few problems with the SimSync. I haven't actually got the cars, so everything is actually a grey touring car for me right now. That's just making a unique qualifying experience. Checking the live timing right now, we've got Rob van Starkenberg, who looked very fast in the practice session. Leading at the moment. Martin Gosby is in second place, Peter Burlak in third, Zoltan Suti in fourth, and Edward Malorki in fifth. So no changes really from the World Series, which I commentated on last year. But yeah, Rob van Starkenberg was looking very fast in qualifying, very hooked up in his grey touring car. Really going really close to the walls, really putting everything on the curve. He definitely looks very strong today.
Yeah, I mean, well, you've got great touring cars now, even in the server, so we're going to be a good team. We're going to be a good team.
I'm just trying to get up the results of the World Series races from the last few rounds.
Burlak won the last two.
Well, thank you. I'm honestly completely in the dark about who's fast and who's not. So, well, I know that Peter Burlak is very fast from commentating on him in World Trophy last year, but. That's no surprise that he's very fast. Looks like, is there anybody out on track at the moment? So it looks like this qualifying one session is probably over. By the looks of things, perhaps I'm having a bit of trouble with live timing because it says only 5 people have actually run. Oh, that's Q2 actually over. So there we go.
Oh, we're really good at this. We're really good at this. We promise. We promise.
It's a good start. But yes, Q2 is actually just finished, and so would that be Rob van Starkenberg? I told you look good. There we go. Fantastic little prediction there. I told you look good. Rob van Starkenberg looks like he might be on pole. In which case, that's a really good job by him. Only on the live time, at least there's 6 people ran, so that's weird for a Q2
Yeah, that is weird
session.
for a Q2 session. The thing is, though, is that he's obviously going for the championship lead today. If he wins the race and Burlak's second or lower, he'll be. If he's second, if Burlak's second, he'll be in joint championship lead. But if Burlak's lower than that, then obviously Rob van Starkenburg takes the lead. So he's obviously gunning for that at the moment. And with not very long left, we've only got about 3 rounds left of this championship. We've got everything to play for the top 3, being Burlak, van Starkenburg, and Gosby. So we've got an interesting championship ahead of us.
Certainly, I'm just trying to look at that. Yeah, it's pretty close, isn't it? It's just like the World Series was last year, it seems. It's again very close this year. Yeah, Peter Burlak leading. That'd be very impressive if he managed to win 2 championships in a row in a World Trophy and then World Series. But yeah, like you say, Rob van Starkenburg right up there, and so is Martin Gosby. Yeah, it's very impressive.
Yeah, especially considering the start of the year that Gosby had, where he was running away with many of the races and looked extremely strong in the championship. Obviously, with things happening around Britain that made things quite complicated. Things have changed in the championship, but even now, Burlak's still putting in the performances that he needs with 2 wins. Obviously, I think it was Gosby had a disconnection in Japan, which cost him the win. But this championship's got loads to play for at the moment, and it's looking extremely exciting. It's looking like one of the top championships that we've had in World Series for a long time. So I think we're going to have a really good finale to the championship.
Yeah, how many races left?
3. We've got Abu Dhabi, and then Brazil.
Right, that does sound like it's pretty exciting, and certainly a lot closer than the World Championship championship run at the moment. Definitely one to watch the World Series by the looks of things. I've been missing out not watching these races.
Yeah, obviously with the World Championship that Bono can wrap it up today. Tomorrow. I'm thinking ahead of myself. It's fine, but no, this I think it will go down to the wire. We've got so much to play for, and it's always changing. Who's got the huge advantage at any present moment in time? I don't think anyone's really got anything at the moment. It's all pretty nip and tuck at the front, and I think going forward we're going to have a nice close championship, or at least that's what I would hope for as a commentator. Because we all love our close championships. Not sure if the drivers like it so much, but we're always a big fan of them.
So Burlak's won the last 4 out of 5 rounds. In fact, he's been very dominant, hasn't he? He's won every race but 2 since Silverstone. So Burlak has been really dominant. After I did watch the early rounds, I watched Gosby doing well in those early rounds, winning in Melbourne, Shanghai, and Montreal. But since then, since I've pretty much stopped watching, Burlak has gone on a charge, hasn't he? He's been really impressive.
Does that mean Gosby's going to win today?
Well, from viewing practice though, it looked like no one could touch the sort of way that Rob van Starkenburg was hooked up around this circuit. He looked really on it. It just looked like one of those times where you watch a driver and you just think, yes, he understands this circuit. He knows how to drive in between those walls in his great touring car.
Yeah, well, yeah, great touring car. It's fine. I've got cars now. I'm organised.
Yeah, the drivers are crying at me apparently in the server. They're telling me that I'm going to bug up their game or something, so they're all a bit worried. In fact, I think I'm it looks like I'm in some sort of saloon car. Something's gone very wrong here.
Oh, poor James. So this is what I missed when you weren't here. But no, with Van Starkenburg, the thing is that he took a win back in Italy, which was the first time that he'd done a win that hadn't involved Gosby, which was back in Bahrain when Gosby had the pit lane issue. And since then, he's actually had some extremely good pace to take it to Burlak, but Burlak's just pulled something else out, and Gosby's always been there or thereabouts. Obviously with the odd disconnection. So hopefully we're going to have a really good race today.
Yeah, I certainly hope so. But it does look like, especially in the midfield, that these drivers are quite close in lap times, and it can be tough to pass, of course, around the Singapore circuit. Can't make any bones about that. As my car just got hit in the pit lane, something's happening really bad. I'm sitting in the pit lane and I don't know quite how to manoeuvre myself out of that position. But anyway, Yeah, it looks like it could be quite a close midfield battle today in this World Series race, and Zoltan Suti could be one to watch. I think. I mean, I've always admired him since I first saw him in FSR, which I believe was in Britain. Was his debut, and he actually was really impressive. I remember that race very well. And Zoltan Suti looked like he was fast as well. I think he qualified about third, did he? In the end, I didn't quite manage to write down the qualifying order because I wasn't even aware it was Q2.
Oh, sorry, my bad. I was looking somewhere else. I can't remember. I'm very bad.
No worries. I'm just.
It looks like you have actually got a grey car on my screen as well.
Oh, I've got a grey car now. Excellent. Yes, that's what everybody is for me. Now, Peter Burlack currently leads this warm-up session, but I believe for now we're going to go to a sponsor video. So we'll talk to you again after a few words from our sponsors. Welcome back then to coverage of round 13 of the World Series, here live from Singapore. James Tucker and Lewis McGlade in the commentary booth, and we'll be taking your questions from YouTube today. This is a long race, over 2 hours long, so certainly any input we can get from you, the viewer, on YouTube with your comments is always appreciated.
Yep, indeed, we all like your little input. It kept me amused for a few races.
Yeah, how is it commentating alone? Because I had to do it a few times. It's not fun.
Yeah, I think Italy I had to do 2 of them solo.
Oh dear.
Japan I had to do I had to do Japan with Scott having like getting booted out of the game and then having to wing it. It was always good days, but It's interesting. It's something different. Not something I'd recommend on a 2-hour race. I would say that. But it could be fun.
You know, the worst thing is when you're not actually when you're not actually live and you're doing it on your own. That's really bad, because then you feel very strange. If you're not even commentating to anyone, you don't even have an audience, because even in the back of your mind, when you're doing something like FSR or something, you still know there's an audience there. But when you're doing it not live, that is what's really bad. Anyway, enough of the commentary stories. I was just looking at last year's race and there wasn't actually a Singapore Grand Prix last year, so I believe this is a new one.
It was back in 2010 when Bono took his first championship, but it's been off the calendar since then. So yeah, it's a new one for some of the drivers.
Yeah, so that could be quite interesting. It certainly looks very impressive. It was my first thoughts when I saw the circuit. Even if the cars don't look too impressive to me, the circuit does look pretty amazing. And certainly this night race is a new kind of environment. I know it's a sim race, so it's not the same sort of thing. But Rob Van Starkenburg just hit my car there in the pit lane. Very rude, but Rob. It's still interesting, perhaps, for the driver. It's still a different experience, a different sort of atmosphere that this Singapore circuit gives out. And of course, it being a street race, that's probably the main difference.
Yeah, I mean, what I found whilst driving these cars is it's kind of easy to drive them to a point, but when you're driving at 95%, it's okay.
I get what you mean.
Yeah,
it's that extra bit. It's
when you pass that extra bit on a track like this where you kind of need to get as close to the wall as you possibly can, because that's where the extra tenths are. That's where your pole positions, your fastest laps, your race wins. That's where they are, is on that extra limit. And in these cars, that is really, really hard to find. But you know, the drivers that find it, your Rob Van Starkenburgs, Martin Gosby's, Peter Burlacks, those are the ones that can push up towards that end of the grid, you know, onto the pointy end, basically, and really go for the wins. But I think we're about to go out for a formation lap.
Yeah, it looks like we're about to start, so I'm actually going to leave most of the commentating at the start to Lewis. I think that's probably safe, considering if a front wing pulls off or something, I just won't know. I have to trust you on anything like that, Lewis.
Yeah, you'll just see a bouncy touring car, it's fine.
Yeah, I'm back in my pits now, it looks like, because we've reset the race. So Rob Van Starkenburg then is leading the field at the moment on the formation lap. Martin Gosby has qualified in second, and Peter Ballack is in third. Zoltan Suti follows him in fourth. Edward Malorki in fifth. Adrian Rodriguez, I'm afraid I haven't heard of him, is in sixth place. Has he been a regular this year?
From memory, I think so.
Okay.
I think so.
Mohamed Patel is in seventh place. Antonio Kolarek is in eighth. David Franco is in 9th, another one I haven't heard of, and Alex Diaz in 10th. I'll leave you to tell us the rest of the grid, Lewis.
Yeah, okay, we've got Danny van der Neet in 11th, Cyril Vermeulen in 12th, Nick Rowland, who'll be doing your World Championship commentary a bit later on in the weekend, lines up in 13th position. Not been having a too good season as of recent, but you know, hopefully to move himself through. Luka Oslakovic in 14th, Chris de Jong in 15th, Ryan Walker for a different team, because he was with PSR last time, but now is with Arnchu. He is in 16th, and that is the entire grid. We've only got 16 runners today in the World Series. I think some people have just a little bit given up, but 16, hopefully we won't have too many retirements.
Some people perhaps opted out of a 2-hour race, which is expected to come up here. Perhaps that is why people have opted out, I don't know. It's quite a marathon at Singapore in real life, and certainly in FSR can be quite a marathon as well. Although I'm sure some of these sim drivers, I recognise them from sort of endurance sim races, so they'll be used to this sort of thing.
Yeah, it's a tough race where over the 2-hour period, if you make one mistake, these cars are pretty fragile. You know, if you throw it into the wall, then that's your race over. And on a track that's as hard as this, you know, we've seen quite a high attrition rate on some other tracks. On a track like this, that is just going to be higher. You know, in Formula 1, they haven't done a race here without a safety car, and well, here, who knows what's about to happen, as they're all about to line up on the grid. Obviously, Rob Van Starkenburg in pole position for yet another precision front row lockout, which we've seen many times this season, and I'm assuming we're going to see it probably 2 more, maybe, because they are extremely good in qualifying. They are very, very fast, these two. But nevertheless, all into position, and we're about to get ready for the 5 lights above the drivers as they start to illuminate. And in the night time of Singapore, we're away, and Rob van Starkenburg has a good start, as does Martin Gosby. We've got a little bit of a cluster in the back of the grid, but Zoltan Suti down the inside of Peter Burlak and up into 3rd position. We've got Rob van Starkenburg still leading the pack through in front of his teammate Martin Gosby. Zoltan Suti obviously making the jump on, but Peter Burlak. Edouard Malorqui up into 5th position. Mohammed Patel in 6th, making his way up from 7th. David Franco in 8th. It's getting a bit... Oh, no contact yet from... or huge crash that I've seen. It's probably been one far back. I always miss those. And there's a bit of contact. David Franco's in the wall. Yeah, he's lost his front wing. And he's come back in front of Kolarec. Kolarec lost his front wing as well. That did not end very well for those two. Bit clumsy.
Oh, contact there. That seems the grey touring cars are perfectly intact for me. How weird. But it looks like it was just late on the brakes there, and Franco just got hit up the backside. Yeah,
and that didn't work out for either of those two. Hopefully not causing any problems to anyone else. Nick Rowland though up into 8th position. That's an excellent start. Well done.
Yeah, really good start from Nick Rowland there. And
yeah.
Burlak is right on the back. In fact, Malorqui is right on the back of Burlak. Both of them look the same to me. Through the Singapore sling, and it looks like Malorqui's going to have a little go up the inside here. Actually, not quite. Just having a look.
He's getting very close though.
He's all over the back. It's very hard to pass through this section, this kind of windy section. And the minute you go underneath the grandstand, that's always one of my favourite corners. But it's often one that causes a safety car in real life, that one. Rob van Starkenburg, though, meanwhile, has pulled out a gap already over Martin Gosby. So Rob van Starkenburg looking pretty strong here in these early laps.
Yeah, it was a start that he really needed. And he's continuing on about a second in the lead in front of his teammate Gosby, who kind of, to be honest, from what I just saw there, slightly cut the second or the right-hander after the first turn. That kind of turn 2. So it's a bit hard. I don't have a track map. I'm sure it is turn 2.
There's a fair gap opening up.
There is a huge gap, yeah.
But there's 2 sort of packs that are opening up, and since it's only a 16-pack field, 16-car field even. It seems to be a big split in the pack kind of thing, but it's just where that contact was that caused it, and that means that already it's an interesting race in terms of strategy, because if we get 2 separate races, 2 almost classes of races, then that really does open it up for someone who's a bit lower back to try something, try some sort of risky move in terms of strategy, especially when the punishment for doing something wrong might not be so great with a few less back markers.
Yeah, well, I will also point out that we did lose someone. We lost Antonio Kolarec, who is out of the race. Chris de Jong and David Franco also both pitted for the front wings. Obviously about Franco, I didn't see what happened to Chris de Jong, but nevertheless they are leading the way at the back, which is not leading, but nevertheless 14th and 15th for those two, and the gap between the lead 1.3 seconds. That is quite a large gap that Rob van Starkenburg has opened up for himself, and quite a comfortable margin for him to. I know it's 1.3 seconds. It's quite early on, but that is a comfortable margin, especially on a track like this. You don't really want to push 100% on a track like this because you will end up in the walls. Yeah,
that's very true. Malorqui and Burlak seem still very close. Malorqui looks fast in these early laps, and in fact, he's pulling out to the inside of Burlak here into turn 1. He's going to get that one.
Burlak lets him go.
Yeah, Burlak didn't fight that one really. No. Maybe Burlak's having a few problems early on because he didn't make a good start, particularly from 3rd on the grid, and now he's fallen back another position. And Patel looks like he's harassing Burlak right now.
Yeah, that's not really worked out for Burlak, especially considering that's the championship leader right there. But Malorqui is trying to make some quick moves, and he moves up the inside of Zoltan Suti.
Yeah, that's impressive.
That was quite brave.
Malorqui is looking very strong in these early laps, in fact. And now Burlak's on the back of Zoltan Suti, so Suti perhaps is also having a few problems early in the race. But of course, different strategies perhaps. You know, some people looking to go a bit longer into the race on their tyres and maybe therefore aren't pushing so hard at the moment. So you can't really tell anything too much from these early laps, and Patel is looking like he wants to pass Burlak as well. if I was a superstitious man, I'd say that me watching the World Series isn't good for Peter Bernach. And here he goes up the inside of Zoltan Suti, locking up his front tyres there, and Suti is going to get the crossover move done on him, and Suti keeps the position for now. But great dicing here between two great drivers in Peter Bernach and Zoltan Suti, two very promising drivers in Formula Sim racing.
Yep, this is what I was saying about earlier on with the ever-shifting balance of the World Series, as we never really know who's going to have the big advantage early on, and Edouard Malorque up into third position, which is pretty good for him, especially considering he's kind of dropped off this championship train. Earlier on in the season, we were looking at him as a fourth title competitor, and now he's down in he's in fourth, but he's in a comfortable fourth at the moment. You know, he's not too close to the top three, he's not close to the drivers below him, but you know, trying to make his mark here and move his way up through into third position, and maybe push up towards the back of Martin Gosby. He's got about 1.7 seconds to Gosby, and Gosby has 1.5 seconds over his 1.5 seconds to his teammate. So
yeah, 35 points separate those top three, and then it's a long way back to Edouard Malorque, who is on 271 points, and then Zoltan Suti on 185. I'm quite surprised that Zoltan Suti hasn't done so well in the World Series after he had such an impressive debut half season in the World Trophy, and he definitely looked like he could compete with Bernach in that series. It's quite surprising to me that he hasn't done quite so well in the World Series Championship, but of course there's always a time to turn it around. Looks like this race could be one of them. He's up into fourth position right now, behind the runaway Rob van Starkenburg, who at the moment is just keeping a steady gap over his teammate Martin Gosby, and Edouard Malorque, who has looked like he might be catching up actually. Do you think that Edouard Malorque is perhaps creeping up to Martin Gosby? He's creeped up about 0.4 of a second over the last couple of sectors, so Edouard Malorque we definitely want to be looking out for at the moment. He has absolutely got the pace, and from what I've just seen, he's set the fastest second sector on this lap, and his last lap was 0.4 faster than Gosby's, 0.3 faster than Rob van Starkenburg, and also the fast lap of the race was done by David Franco, and apparently Zoltan Suti spun. I didn't see that. No, I haven't seen that, but he is behind now. He's kind of spun, surely, because he's only just behind Bernach, unless he spun and then did a ridiculous lap. I'm
just going to have a look. He had a little bit of contact with Bernach when he did that as well. He also clobbered the barrier. It was a half spin out of the third to last corner, so good job to keep that kind of on track. Well, it's kind of hard to get off track here, unless you want to end up in a barrier.
Yeah, it is quite hard to get off track. There are some big runoff areas, kind of after the long straight down to turn 7, which is called Raffles Boulevard. I'm well informed. There's some runoff areas, so it means that you can try some dangerous overtaking manoeuvres and get away with perhaps a lock-up or something, but for most of the lap you have to go really close, and what's most interesting to me is in some places there's a curb that sticks, like there through the Singapore Sling, there's curves that stick out, so it's not so dangerous. But in other places you have to go really close to the wall on the inside as well, kind of like the Monaco chicane almost, the Nouveau chicane in Monaco, and that is a real challenge for the drivers sometimes, because you've got to hook it up and you've got to just almost drive at the wall and expect to miss it.
Yeah, it's a really tricky track to drive, is this one, and there's a lot of turns that need to be negotiated before returning to the start-finish line, and a lot that needs to be done between that, and it's a really tricky track to master, because some of the turns are not easy. You know, we've got the Singapore Sling, which has been changed from what it originally was and what it was back in 2010 when we had it in this. It's much like the turn that it was turn 10 earlier on, but Mohammed Patel is into 5th position and is coming under attack by Zoltan Suti, who had the half spin earlier on.
Yeah, the Singapore Sling's kind of like a strange double apex kind of bastardization, can I say, of the old Singapore Sling in this track. It's not quite like it is in real life, but it's a reasonable adaptation, and apart from that, the road marking and everything look really good on this version, I must say. It's very impressive from FSR. Meanwhile, in the race, Peter Bernach is just heading off this pack where everybody seems to be just holding their ground at the moment. Everyone's stalking one another at the moment. it seems. If we go a bit back further in the field, back to sort of Danny van der Neet, then he has a small lead over Nick Rowland, who made that impressive start up to 8th. And looking even further back, Ostakovic and Walker have been having a little bit of a battle for that 11th and 12th position. Ryan Walker, another name I haven't heard of. And there's certainly battles all over the field, and some impressive driving going on to keep it in between the barriers and still go side by side in this circuit. Certainly I was very impressed with Milwaukee making those passes a bit earlier.
Yeah, Ryan Walker, he debuted last time out in FSR back in South Korea, and I did criticise him, and he came up to me and said that was fine because it was fair, because something that he didn't do, which around a track like this is super difficult anyway, is when there's an overtake that's there, he doesn't necessarily go for it, if that makes sense. And I think pointing that out to a driver like that, he knows it now, and he's fully aware that is the situation, that he doesn't tend to go for these moves. So now he's aware of it, that when a move opens up for him, he will actually have a look, as he is trying to do on Luka Oslakovic's rear wing right now. But he's quite a quick driver, is Ryan Walker, and sometimes fairly consistent. But we've just got to keep an eye on him. Running down 12th position. I'm usually seeing him more in a lofty position, which shows the talent that some of the FSR drivers actually have.
Well, Nick Rowland's been passed by Cyril Verdman, we missed that. But Nick Rowland, after that impressive start, has fallen down to 9th place. And Milwaukee,
they're getting really close.
Is lapping very fast at the moment. Milwaukee has caught Gosby. And yeah, Milwaukee's on his rear wing right now. I mean, of course, I can't see any rear wing, but Milwaukee is looking very strong this race. Perhaps he's got some sort of different strategy, or perhaps he's just fast.
Yep, speaking of different strategies, I'm wondering what's happened to Peter Burlack. This is not the pace that I'd expect from a championship leader, or even someone who's actually definitely going for the championship, someone who can win it. Saying that he's down in 4th position, he's 9.8 seconds off of the lead. I'd expect something a little bit faster. Maybe he's going for something different strategy-wise, trying to push the tyres, lap-wise, as opposed to how fast he can go on them. So maybe that's what's happening, whereas his teammate has completely different other ideas. So Edouard Milwaukee is absolutely pushing for that 2nd place on the back of Martin Gosby.
There wasn't any contact or anything on the start for Peter Burlack, was there, that you picked up on?
I don't think so. I mean, he obviously, from earlier on what I saw when Zoltan Suti had the half spin coming out of one of the corners, it was turn 21, that he had the half spin. He did actually hit Peter Burlack ever so slightly on Burlack's right rear tyre, but I don't know if he'd have too much damage from that. Possibly even a little bit of right rear suspension damage, but that should be controllable. I wouldn't expect it to have that much of an impact on pace, but back to Edouard Milwaukee and Martin Gosby, it's half a second between the two.
Yeah, I'm just going to check the YouTube comments right now. Just have a look. There's a pretty active comments stream right now.
We do.
In the comments. They just chat about the championship. Carlos Martin is in the comments right now. He says, I don't think they're going to do it. There's been very few times to do some skins. Maybe see it in the next Grand Prix. I don't know quite what they're talking about there, but having a conversation about something.
Teams taking part.
Teams is something I am completely unaware of. Today in FSR, at the moment they're all grey. They're all Team Grey. That's what they are. Did you have one fan saying RIP Maria de Villotton? Of course, everyone echoes those sentiments. That was a real tragedy in the F1 world earlier. And he says, I hope some FSR drivers are paying tribute to her this weekend. We're not aware of that. I'm certainly not, because I can't see any sort of livery or anything like that. But we can pay tribute to her. She's a very brave driver, and it's a real shame, real terrible news about that. Going back to the racing, Milwaukee's fallen off Gosby a tiny bit, but he's still there, and perhaps he just doesn't want to get his tyres too mucked up in the dirty air right now, because if you follow them too closely, like he was right on his rear wing, if you follow them too closely for too long, then you can actually mess up your tyres in that hot air.
Yeah, this is something interesting that I'd like to bring up to a point, is that where you have a major overtaking zone like down into Turn 1 or down to Rambles Boulevard, if you have good traction off a corner, and this is something that I noticed when I was racing back in Suzuka, not in FSR, or something else. It's when looking at other people's driving, they're closing up at the wrong time. There's always a right time to close up to the back of a car. Now, in Suzuka, obviously, you don't want to be closing up as you're about to head into 130R, because then you have to lift. You want to be closing up either just before it or just after it, because if you're just after it, then you can make a move into the Casio triangle. Here, you want to be closing up just as you're heading into turn 1. You don't really want to be closing up before then. You want it just then, so you can surprise them with a move. And that is some of the things that some of the drivers, it's really hard to balance out, but the best drivers can do it every single time. And that's where the good overtakers are, is when they're timing, when they're closing up and when they're gapping. So Ebon Malorki right now, he could be gapping Gosby to then close up again a lot quicker than Gosby. Things, it's quite a complex scenario as to when you should close up to a driver, and drivers in this league at this level should generally know that.
Yeah, I do know what you mean. Definitely, one of the main overtaking points is turn 7 off Raffles Boulevard. You go through that turn 6, don't you? And the thing is, if you've got the inside for turn 6, then you'll be on the outside for turn 7. And turn 6 is it's a non-corner; it's flat out quite easily. So that's something that drivers have to be aware of when they're slipstreaming down the straight into turn 7. They have to be aware that perhaps through turn 6 they have to sacrifice a bit of space alongside the driver to have the inside for turn 7, and it can be something you can use to trick the other driver. In fact, perhaps doing a dummy to take the outside in turn 6, they might not be so worried, but then you can maybe get them up the inside into turn 7, or even like you say, it's about timing the move, perhaps following through turn 6 and just dipping out as you exit turn 6 down into the short straight to turn 7.
Yeah, but as I was saying about maybe closing up to the back of Ryan Gosby, Bob Malorki seems to be struggling a bit. Maybe tyres, maybe he has actually pushed the tyres just a little bit too much. We are currently on lap 10 of 61 at the moment. But Bob Malorki is dropping right off the back of Ryan Gosby. Peter Burlack now seems to be actually up to some sort of pace, in relation to the leader, and is closing up to the back of his teammate. And as they pass the second sector split, Burlack actually closes up ever so slightly on Rob van Starkenburg, and quite a huge margin on his teammate.
Yeah, Rob van Starkenburg, I thought he looked good earlier, and he's certainly coming good on that pace that he had earlier. Look, if you just watch on board, perhaps with Rob van Starkenburg, you really can see how impressive he looks. Watch into turn 1 now, he goes all the way to the outside, gets his wheels right on the curb there in turn 2, as a lot of drivers do, and a lot of drivers like that line, and don't really mind. Now this section of the track kind of flows really well into each other, and now just not taking any curb hardly there through turn 5, but then using it all on the exit. Through turn 6 goes Rob van Starkenburg, and now into the quick left right left section through turn 7, 8 and 9. This is a section where often there is trouble.
Yeah, also Edouard Malorki has just pitted, so I think his tyres had gone off.
Yeah, that is probably what happened. So all that hard pushing earlier in the race has cost him, it seems. Although perhaps he'll be doing it. Well, it's pitting at lap 10. He needs to do a 5-stop strategy. I doubt he'll be doing that one.
No, I think it was early soft, so he'll probably push he's on the hard tyre now, unless he's on the soft, and he'll do. That was a bit aggressive there from Edouard Malorki. There wasn't too much room there for Adrian Rodriguez, and that is not really a good overtaking opportunity. Neither is down the Singapore Sling. Neither is down the Singapore Sling.
That's not a place to pass, Edouard Malorki. He's probably a bit impatient. He's probably a bit annoyed with himself, perhaps, for wearing out of those soft tyres early. And now he wants to get past Adrian Rodriguez quickly, and he tried to pounce really fast, catch Adrian Rodriguez cold, and he couldn't quite do it. He's got the slipstream again now. He's got the outside now, and he'll just have to cut back. He should get the drive on those new tyres, and he does. Not quite there, but he's just going to squeeze up the inside, maybe a little bit more contact there. He's got the outside again from this corner. Adrian Rodriguez has been very fair, giving him space, and Malorki is around the outside there. I think that's turn, is that turn 18 or 17? One of those ones. they all look quite similar.
One of the many corners on this track. There's far too many. Also, I will point out that Gosby and Van Starkenberg did not pit, neither did Burlak. So it's kind of seems to be a bit of an isolated issue there to Milwaukee. But Danny Van Den Eet in 6th position has a little bit of company, and also I've just heard that Burlak's done a purple sector 2, which is very, very good.
So Burlak perhaps after in the early race not being quite so fast now, picking up the pace a little bit. He's through turn 9 here, I believe that's where he is. Very wide exit on turn 9. That one always looks fun because the track suddenly opens up for you and you can just hit the throttle.
The thing is with 9.
Into the Singapore Sling.
Yeah, the thing is with 9 is that it always looks wider than it is. You can find yourself going into that barrier so very, very easily. It looks like you've got all the runoff that you need, and then so you're like, oh, I'll put my foot down here, and before you know it, you're in that barrier. So
yeah, I know
it's one to be careful of.
It's one of those ones that kind of launches you perhaps into the barrier, you could say.
Yeah, it does indeed.
Especially since a good exit is so crucial because it's one of the longest straights on the circuit. You have the straight between the home straight, the straight down to turn 7, which isn't really a straight, but it's a flat out section. Then you have that little bit into the Singapore Sling, which isn't really an overtaking place, although we've seen people do it in the past. And certainly these World Series drivers, I think, would have no problem with attempting an overtake into the Singapore Sling. And then you have the straight between turn 13 and 14, which is across the long bridge, I believe. Yeah. Well, you've also got the shorter bridge, the Anderson Bridge, I believe it's called.
Yeah.
And then you've got the really long bridge, which isn't perhaps such an overtaking point. Now I'm seeing sparks come off my grey touring cars. Are you getting that too, Lewis?
Well, I'm actually not getting sparks, but we do usually have a little bit of sparks, especially on a track like this when you don't have too much height change. And also, I just heard that Cyril Verdmuller's gotten past Danny Van Den Eet.
Yeah, I was watching that one earlier. Cyril Verdmuller was right on the back of Danny Van Den Eet, and I didn't bring it up. Probably should have. And yeah, he's got past. It
was a good move.
It looked like he was challenging him. Cyril Verdmuller then looking pretty fast. He's up to 6th. Of course, Milwaukee's pitted, but apart from that, that's kind of net 7th. So Milwaukee now is getting stuck behind Nick Rowland as well. So things aren't going so well after a good start for Evan Milwaukee.
Yeah, he pitted into traffic on a track like this. You can't really make a move, but as you said earlier, getting a drive onto these straights is absolutely crucial. Milwaukee knows it, and to get a move done on someone as Nick Rowland, you need the perfect drive onto this track. That's a
good place to surprise someone, because of the way the track goes. It kind of allows you to just stay on the throttle a little bit longer into the corner, and allows you to pull out a surprise move on someone. I don't think this one's an overtaking place for Milwaukee, and he should perhaps think more about staying behind him. There's a problem if you do too many of these half moves like he keeps doing on Nick Rowland to try and get in that head. A driver like Nick Rowland just won't be bothered. I know Nick will just be looking in his mirrors thinking, well, you can do that all day and you'll just waste your tyres, you'll waste your own time, really. He should just try and stay in his tyre tracks and then pull out a move into somewhere where you can really overtake, like turn 1 coming up, and look, he's fallen way back.
Yeah, see, Nick Rowland knows how to defend. I think go down to turn 1 at Milwaukee, he might have a wee look for a move, but he doesn't actually get done. From what we heard, Mohamed Patel has done the fast lap of the race again on the last lap and has been lapping consistently faster than most of the other people anyway. Mohamed Patel has been on the podium, I think, for the last 2 events. He's really shown some good form over the last couple of events, and going here, it's looking like he could be pretty good. But Nick Rowland and Edward Milwaukee is going to be really close for the turn coming up, which is a primary overtaking opportunity.
That is probably the best place to overtake on the track, and it looks like he might have got it done. He's got the outside now for turn number 8. Is he going to get it done the outside? It looks like something... Rowland just let him go there, really, didn't he? He didn't choose to fight that one anymore. I realised that one was a lost cause. Something I noticed about Milwaukee is through turn 2 he takes a lot of curb, almost 4 wheels on the curb, in fact, in turn 2. And that's quite a unique line, actually, amongst the drivers today.
Yeah, I mean, to find the time on this, you need to find a unique line around a track. Around this track, it's a tough track, as we've already said, and with 61 laps, you've got to get it right so many times. And finding the line that you're comfortable with is the important thing. Finding something that you know how to repeat every single time. Sometimes not necessarily it's the fastest, but if you can repeat it every single time, as opposed to maybe forcing yourself onto the fastest line, then you could actually lose time from doing that. It sounds really weird, but it's all about getting the driver into a comfort zone. We've seen it so many times where a driver hasn't been in its comfort zone, and they've really messed up. The thing is that I'd like to point out is that if Edouard Malorque was on the softs earlier on in the race and everyone else was, Rob van Starkenburg, pole sitter and all that, why has no one else pitted?
Maybe it was just Malorque was in fact abusing those tyres, making all those passing manoeuvres. Perhaps it really was that. And he goes very wide there through turn number 5, Edouard Malorque. He's really aggressive, it looks like, in this race. He had all 4 wheels again off the road in turn 2. And Malorque is really pushing hard to catch up to Danny van der Niet in 7th place. And like you say, about rhythm, about finding your comfort zone, that's what I've really noticed about Rob van Starkenburg today. He's looked like he's in that comfort zone, he's got that rhythm, and he's just corner after corner, he's hitting his marks, he's getting it right. I haven't hardly seen him make a mistake all race, Rob van Starkenburg, and he's got a decent lead at the moment over his teammate Martin Gosby. In fact, it's 8.4 seconds now at the end of lap 14, so it's very impressive early pace from Rob van Starkenburg.
Van Starkenburg doesn't tend to put a foot wrong, and he's proven that on the toughest track, one of the toughest tracks on the calendar. I'd actually say it is pretty much the toughest track on the calendar, because unlike, I'd say Monaco's obviously one of the toughest.
Yeah, I was going to say, you think it's tougher than Monaco?
But there's something about this track it's kind of like, oh, you're invited to put on this much power, and if you do, sorry, you're out of the race. And Monaco, you have to be super cautious on a track like that. But on this, it just looks so much more open than it is.
It's wider as well, isn't it? It's much wider than Monaco, so it's high speed.
Yeah, the thing is with this being wider is that as I said, it invites you to challenge it. You're kind of like, oh, this track can't do nothing to me. Look, you see how wide it is, and then bang, you're in a wall. That's the difference between this and Monaco. Monaco's always tight and twisty and narrow, whereas this just looks like a track you can attack, and to be honest, you just can't.
And you do have the more open sections, of course, sort of turn 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, that left, right, kind of combination of many chicanes. And that can perhaps lull you into a false sense of security, because there's plenty of space there, really, in between the walls, because it's kind of like the walls are there, but then the actual course is set out like an obstacle course in between them. But then as soon as you get back to turn 1 and 2, 3, suddenly you're right back into driving in between the walls, and definitely that section around the bridge and the Singapore Sling, that's a really technical section.
Speaking of people going through the Singapore Sling, that was Edouard Malorque having a move on Danny van der Niet. He's going to have a look to the outside as they're going around the hairpin and down towards the bridge. Edouard Malorque looking like he wants to move up another position, obviously on the fresher tyres that he's currently on.
Dipping in and out of the slipstream, and then off this bridge it does seem to kind of narrow up the track, and he's got the outside on van der Niet. Can he get the power on quickly? He can, and he's kept the inside now for the next corner. Will he go around the outside now, because it switches back and it's still side by side? A brilliant battle, but Malorque with those new tyres cannot be stopped by Danny van der Niet, but a good fight he put up there.
Yeah, that was quite impressive from Danny van der Niet. Nice to see two drivers going side by side for a prolonged period of time on a track like this. Also, something that I'd really like to point out, look at where Burlack is in comparison to Gosby. Gosby's dropped off a long way from his teammate, and Burlack's dropped off a little bit from his team from Van Starkenburg as well. But the important thing with Burlack is that he's closing up at a rate of knots to the back of Martin Gosby.
Yeah, he's found his form, hasn't he, Peter Burlack? And perhaps it's an example of intelligent driving. Us commentators said, oh, Edouard Malorque, excellent start, and look where he is now after abusing his tyres. We said Peter Burlack, oh, poor start, but look at where he is now after saving his tyres. So perhaps it's just an example of Peter Burlack being an intelligent driver who really knows his way around these tyres, around how to race strategically at these sort of races. And he's catching up to Martin Gosby, and that's not what his teammate Rob van Starkenburg will want to see from Martin Gosby. He'll want him to stay in second and keep Peter Burlack behind, so that Van Starkenburg can make up as many points as possible on Peter Burlack.
Yeah, surprising fact, we've only had 2 retirements so far, and they were on the first couple of laps. That was Antonio Colarec and Chris de Jong. We've not had a retirement since. Everyone's kept it on track and out of the barriers. Some maybe having a little bit of a glance, but most not touching the barriers at all. Robert van Starkenburg continues for yet another lap on these tyres. Does make me wonder what kind of tyres he's using. Also, there's something that I'd really like to point out that I was going to point out earlier about how they go through turn 1, is that they go all the way onto the right-hand side, which passes the white line. Now, I don't know what anyone wants to say about that or anything, but I've seen quite a lot of drivers crossing the white line.
Yeah, that's true. They do seem to test the track limits quite a bit, and I think David Dominguez in YouTube comments, which by the way nobody's talking. Feel free to leave your comments and we'll read them out. David Dominguez said FSR curbs are considered part of the track, so they are not cutting. I'm not sure if it's the same for the white line, but yeah, certainly people do seem to be abusing the track limits, and perhaps even if it's not illegal, as Peter Ballack, the big lock up there into turn number 9. Perhaps even if it's not considered illegal, it's still a dangerous game to play. Testing the track limits with the walls so close.
From all of the sim racing that I've done, which to be honest is really not very much. I'm not very good at it. But the thing is yes, the curbs are generally part of the track. It's not like an F1 where curbs is like the most inconsistent rule on the planet. Sorry, but it is. The thing is here that the curbs are track limit. Okay, so if you're on the outside, if you really want to push, Abu Dhabi will be a good one for this, because we're going to have some people cutting corners there. Is that if you have 2 wheels on the curb, doesn't matter if you've gone really wide. If you've got 2 wheels on the curb, that's not off track because you've got wheels on the curb. But when you're doing things like going down into turn 1, you're going over the white line to give yourself the best drive through, which to me, that is off track.
Yeah,
you wouldn't do that if that was grass, would you?
Exactly.
It's kind of like that's the thing. That it's just going off track to gain yourself an advantage. It's gaining an off track advantage, which does deserve a penalty. So, and there is apparently there's a post in the forum that says it's allowed. So I will zip my mouth and shut up.
Well, yeah, I mean Dominguez has said on the comments that it's allowed, but. It's weird. I mean, I'm not sure why it's allowed. Perhaps it's probably one of those cases of something that's just too hard to police, probably, because if you were trying to police every time someone goes all the way over the white line, then you'd have a real job on your hands, wouldn't you? Trying to stop people from doing that. As Peter Ballack locks up again, he's really abusing these tyres now, later in the run.
Maybe coming into the pit soon?
Yeah, I was just about to say perhaps he's considering a pit stop, so just trying to get every last ounce of speed from these tyres before he pits. But in fact, it's been a bit counterproductive because he's fallen off Gosby just a little bit. What you said earlier, by the way, Lewis, about DNFs, I think in a race like this, where there's not a very big grid, everyone will smell good points because they know that if they can just keep running, there's a high chance that they'll get points even just by finishing the race with such a small grid. So I think people will try really hard to just be consistent, won't push so hard that they'll crash in these early laps, and I think we could see quite a high, even when we don't see many finishes because we've got quite a small grid, we could see quite a high percentage of the people who have started the race finishing compared to a normal race in Singapore.
Yeah, well, Singapore, obviously the track that invites DNFs, but we're not getting them today. And I do agree, with a small grid like this, they're all going to be thinking that, this could be an advantage for me moving up in some of the championship positions. And obviously for 3 very specific drivers, the top 3 at the moment, they're obviously going to be wanting to finish the race no matter what. I think that is the part of the track that we're all going to be looking at towards the end of the race, is where are the top 3 in comparison to each other. It looks like Rob van Starkenburg at the moment will head into, if they're finishing the way they are now, Rob van Starkenburg will lead the championship by 10 points.
It'd be a 20-point swing, wouldn't it? With Peter
Ballack, it'd be a 20-point swing. So Gosby, though, I mean, I know he's in the middle of these 3, but he's still quite a way off, which, in considering that, to be honest, fairly early in the championship, I was sitting back and going, "What? That's this done."
Yeah.
And then Ballack started doing well, and then Van Starkenburg started doing well, but Gosby was always there, and that was the thing that always stopped him. And then Britain happened with the World Championship, and since then he's kind of just been like knocked off the boat.
For people like me who haven't been watching, what did happen in Britain?
In the World Championship, I think I explained this with the last couple of races, so if anyone's new, also, I will point out that Ballack and Gosby within the second, and Patel's within that second as well. But in Britain, Gosby got a podium in the World Championship through not really too much fault of his own. Because he was leading the race. He could have won that race as well. But because of FSR rules, which I'll get onto in a minute, he dropped back into 4th position, and then someone on the podium got a penalty. Was actually disqualified from the race. Also, Osclovic is very close to the back of Adrian Rodriguez. And so that is something that I'll keep an eye on as well. We're getting a little bit of action
pitted,
this moment.
by the way.
Huh?
Gosby's in the pits right now. So
interesting.
that moves Burlak up to 2nd. It's really crucial for Rob van Starkenburg, isn't it, how his teammate Martin Gosby does? Because Gosby really, to have a realistic chance of winning the championship, he needs to win today, does Martin Gosby. But it's really crucial for Rob van Starkenburg that firstly he doesn't, and that he gets the win, and also that Gosby keeps in front of Peter Burlak, so that they're not tied on championship points, so that Rob van Starkenburg can take a lead in the championship.
Pits as well.
So Gosby, whether he's going to be a contender coming down to the final race or not, is going to play a really crucial role in the championship today.
Yeah, and it was that podium that I think knocked him off, because basically what happens is when you get a podium in FSR in the higher league, so if you're racing in the World Series as he is, and he gets a podium in the World Championship, you're not allowed to race in the World Series anymore. Which is an interesting rule, and some people completely disagree with it. Others are okay with it. I'm one that kind of sits on the fence and doesn't really care.
So if you get a podium, you can't race from that point on.
Yeah, basically.
It seems a bit ridiculous. In other racing series I've run, there's rules where perhaps if you get a podium, you can't race next year. That kind of would make more sense.
That's the thing, is that's why I think Jack Heatley was doing it last year as well. He was having to drop himself out of, I think it was 2 or 3 podium positions just so he could keep himself in the World Series, and that's what Gosby's done.
He gave up a 2nd place, I think it was, in Valencia. Jack Heatley made a brilliant drive, and it was such a shame. We thought he ran out of fuel, but no, he was just dropping back because he wasn't allowed to finish where he could have finished.
Yeah, Suti coming back on the back of Luka Oslakovic and Adrian Rodriguez. But yeah, I think for some reasons it's a bit unfair, and especially because Gosby could have won that race, and he could have won it really easily as well, obviously with Bono's disconnection. And I think that's such a shame that is what happened. Burlak's also pitted. That's some part of the rule that I think there needs to be a bit of leeway with that. But either way, there was quite a lot of discussion after it. I don't think he raced the next round, but the round after that he came back, and since then he's had it, but Burlak's got it as well, and so is Van Starkenburg. And that's the thing, is that the last time that we saw him really dominate a race was back in Japan, but he disconnected. So things not working out for Gosby this season from now on. Yeah,
and Suti is on the back of Ostakovic now into turn number 7. He's going to get the inside very easily. Locks up his rear tyres there, which is a weird one to see. But he gets the move done. He's locking up his rear tyres again.
Rear tyres are easy to lock up, surprisingly. I do it far too much.
Yeah, usually around this circuit anyway. It's usually that front left, really. I always see him locking up. Not quite sure why that is. I'm sure a better driver than me would be able to say why that is. And now Suti is going to catch Rodriguez as well.
It's the front left usually locks up because it's front. They kind of both really lock up to an equal amount, but usually the reason why a tyre locks up is because it's not under decent load. There you go. He locks up the front right heading into the turn there, but it's when the tyre's unloaded. So when you're turning in, you've got the load on the right hand side of the car, so the left's unloaded, so the left locks up. When it's the rear tyres, usually it's from like engine braking. You've downshifted too many times, and then the back's kind of locked up. You've stepped out a bit, and I do it far too many times. It's very irritating.
Poor brake bias as well, perhaps, can sometimes cause
indeed. Also,
rear lockup.
Rob van Starkenburg's pitted, which gives the lead to Mohammed Patel, and Zoltan Suti making a move, having a look even on Adrian Rodriguez, but not quite doing it.
Yeah, and also another thing about lockups is once you've done one, it can then compound an issue, can't it? It can then happen again and again and again, and cause flat spots and other problems like that. Once you've locked up once, you can keep locking up in the same place until you've destroyed the tyres and you have to pit. He's got the inside now. He's going to brake very late to Zoltan Suti. Makes a little bit of contact there. It looks like perhaps Adrian Rodriguez. He's got the outside now for turn number 8, but Rodriguez should see this one through. He does, but now Suti has the inside for turn number 9, and this is how this switch back sort of circuit works. He's got to watch his inside into the Singapore Sling, but I doubt Rodriguez will try anything into there, will he? No, he's not that suicidal, and so Suti has the move done. He's up to 6.
Gosby's closed up to the back of his teammate by quite a bit. I think it was only about 7 seconds between the two of them, so not been a particularly brilliant
start.
start.
Because Gosby pitted earlier, didn't he? So
Gosby
it wasn't
did
just
pit
the
earlier.
pits, so he might have had a little bit of time on those newer tyres, so a little bit of good strategy call perhaps by Martin Gosby. Of course, now Robban Starkenberg will have the slightly fresher tyres over the entire run, so it should balance out just about if everything goes to plan. Just reading the comments on YouTube and the people talking about the white line debate that we were just talking. The Ikish says it's the main straight, the white lines aren't counting. Read it from the FSR forum. Someone correct me if I understood it wrong. No, I think he understood that right. We're arguing that, although we're not arguing that any of the drivers are doing anything illegal here, we're just arguing that perhaps they should be, but it could be hard to police. It's Spry says when all 4 wheels is past the white line, it's off track for me. I have to agree, but once again, it could be really tough to police anything like that, and that's probably for practical reasons why FSR isn't going to do anything about the drivers using so much of the track limits.
See, now I'm kind of not really naughty with it, but you know, looking back towards Monza in 2012 Formula 1, is what I'm talking about here, is Ascari. Okay, now this was when I kind of was like, nope, it's on, it's off, it doesn't matter. Was the on at Ascari that year? They said that it didn't really matter if you went wide at Ascari because that was considered as track limit. You could go that wide past the white line. Also, I'm keeping an eye on Cyril Vermeulen, who's on the back of Luka Ostakovic after Cyril Vermeulen's obviously pitted. But you know, then it was kind of like, oh, okay, this rule now is really inconsistent. I think, to me, a white line is a white line. You don't cross it with 4 wheels. I'm with the curb thing. I'm kind of like, oh, it's still past the white line.
It is. It's still technically off track limit.
But like sometimes I don't really see you gain too much of an advantage around this track. Some of the curbs are a little bit too high to really gain an advantage. But on other tracks, like we'll go to next time at Abu Dhabi, Cyril Vermeulen having a little look. But no, next time Abu Dhabi, you'll see quite a lot of drivers using the curbs, quite a lot. But the thing is that it's a white line. It shouldn't be crossed. There shouldn't be an inconsistent rule. We should go into a weekend knowing what's on and what's off. I shouldn't have to like... Oh, Adrian Rodriguez pulls into the bits. But no, we shouldn't have to like look into a forum thread or anything like that.
Muller to the outside of turn 1. Just sorry to interrupt just for a second. But he got squeezed out there by Ostakovic because there's no space because there's that big curve. And I think you're right. You can compare the curb at Ascari and Monza to the curb at turn 2 in Singapore. They are very similar. And Vermeulen is going to try the outside of turn 5. This is a long sweeping corner. And now he'll get the drive down the straight. That's a good pass from Cyril Vermeulen. Although he has new tyres, it's very impressive from him. But is Ostakovic going to try and... Did I just see Ostakovic has got the inside again? And it looks like they had contact there because Vermeulen had a big slide. And that was pretty brave stuff from Luka Ostakovic. Very impressive stuff considering really he has no right to fight with Cyril Vermeulen on these new tyres. But he doesn't care. He's still going for it. And Vermeulen just looked surprised that Ostakovic was there. He had a big slide, didn't he?
Yeah, that was... brave stuff for Luka Ostakovic, but I think Cyril Vermeulen is going to come back down into the hairpin, and yep, there he goes. I don't know if he'll have too much trouble now, but it shouldn't do, no, hopefully, unless Ostakovic just braves it out and breaks late again. But yeah, with the rule, I dislike the inconsistency.
Vermeulen locked up. Wait, sorry. Vermeulen went very wide there. Perhaps he was expecting Ostakovic again. Ostakovic now... Yeah, he surely hasn't got the grip to compete. But it looked like he got into Vermeulen's head there because Vermeulen braked very late and he completely missed the apex. It's quite funny, and he'll carry on.
Yeah, well, basically, all it is to me, white line, don't cross it. That is it. I dislike the inconsistent rule of, oh, it's fine here, but why? Why is it fine there? It's a track. Stick to it.
Yeah, it's like you say, if it was grass or something, people wouldn't do it. It's because it's usable, people do it. And some it seems all drivers now, as the race goes on, are seeming to progress further and further onto that turn 2 curve. Most drivers I was watching qualify were at least keeping one wheel out on the track, but now as you go further into the race, drivers are going higher and higher up onto that curve until turn 2 almost doesn't become a corner at all. It's just double apex between turn 1 and 3.
Yeah, so I think it's just a bit of a silly rule that should not be in place when it's kind of like, oh, it's fine, just do it. It's like, no.
It's impractical as well, isn't it?
Yeah, it's like, I remember doing a race in Abu Dhabi, and I had to check the forum to check what was in bounds, because me as a driver, as I said, I like this is limits, that's it. You've got your white line, stick with them. But then you kind of like, but everyone else is gaining an advantage from doing this. Why? Why can't everyone just go, that's it, we're sticking within the white lines? It's kind of like, ugh.
There's a little battle on track. Van der Neat is challenging Nick Rowland right now, and Van der Neat, something I've noticed, I've been watching for the past few seconds. Danny Van der Neat is taking a lot of curb for every corner almost. He's really abusing his suspension right now, is Danny Van der Neat, and it is interesting, isn't it, to see how these drivers do drive differently. Nick Rowland is quite a smooth driver, I often notice. He seems to be really smooth on his throttle, be just quite effective in his racing line as well. But look at Danny Van der Neat. Danny Van der Neat is turning in much sharper than Nick Rowland, turning in later and sharper, and braking perhaps a bit later and getting on the power a bit later as a consequence. And right now, Nick Rowland has managed to pull away again from Danny Van der Neat. It looked like Van der Neat perhaps pulled up to Nick Rowland, in fact,
yep.
and then sort of dropped back again. And look out! Did you see that? Did you see how far Danny Van der Neat didn't have all 4 wheels on the curve? He had all 4 wheels on the yellow.
Wow.
That is almost ridiculous. But he's going to just take turn 1 flat out and then brake for turn 3 as turn 3 is turn 1.
That's when it's just getting a bit too far. So I did notice that Luka Rostakowicz had entered the pits, and something I really wanted to point out was that Mohammed Patel from like 6th position or something like that, he's once again battling for the podium. So great stuff there from Mohammed Patel. But
this is
they
not
are
what
both.
Burlak wants to see, is it?
No, it's not really what something that Burlak wants to see. Maybe a little bit to a point, because he knows that if he gets past Gosby, then Gosby's going to have some problems. But don't forget that he's in the middle of the sandwich, and we've seen it before. We saw it in Bahrain, where I brought it up that really what Burlak's going to end up doing in a bit is he's going to be attacking and defending at the same time, which is quite a tricky thing to do, because you've got to keep your eye on the mirrors and the car in front and everything else. It's quite a complicated thing to do.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. That is a tough thing to do, to watch both the front and the back. Often it can distract you so far that it affects your driving. I'm not sure if an experienced driver like Peter Burlak will suffer these problems, but Patel has gone up the inside of Burlak. He just flew up the inside, and it looks like Burlak didn't put up any fight at all. He just knew that Patel is faster. In fact, we're getting word from our people on the inside that Patel may well be on soft tyres now, and that might be why Patel is a lot faster, because he just flew past Peter Burlak there. Nothing he can do to stop him.
The guessing begins. This is where we have no idea what tyres everyone's on, and we just kind of make random assumptions as to what everyone's on. Excellent. It did look suspiciously like Patel is on the softer compound tyre, when it looks like Gosby's also on the hards at the moment, because the pace isn't. It's not that it isn't there on the tyres. It's there, but Patel's obviously looking extremely quick, and I think Gosby. I think Burlak knows it. I think Gosby will know that as well. That he's closing up too quickly. He must be on the different compound. So that's something to point out, that Burlak probably quite aware of what's going on around him.
Yeah, Burlak is a very technically astute driver. I've often noticed about him. He's like we saw earlier in the race, a perfect example. He didn't go out too fast, he saved his tyres, and perhaps on this second stint that's what he's doing again. Well, Patel really is bothering Martin Gosby right now. He's all over the back of him, he's locking up, he's certainly giving Gosby something to think about, and down this main straight it looks like he's got plenty of speed. He almost touched the wall there, did it look like, perhaps out of turn number 23 and onto the main straight. Gosby is pushing really hard. Look how much later he brakes than Martin Gosby as well. He's trying to take the outside there in turn 3 to cut back inside to get the slipstream, and now into turn number 7 down this straight. This is where the best overtaking point comes. I think he's a bit too far back on this lap, but certainly Patel will challenge, and I don't think Rob Van Starkenbach has to look down the road, but certainly he'll want Martin Gosby to keep going. He wasn't too far back.
There's been a bit of contact.
Yeah, that wasn't that. I thought he was too far back, and he probably was. I think that might have been a bit of a dangerous idea for Patel. He's got to stay. it's about patience sometimes. That's something perhaps what you notice going from World Championship down to World Series and World Trophy, is that these drivers, a little bit less experienced, perhaps lack the patience of some of the more experienced drivers to know when to make a move and when not.
Yeah, it's something that we brought up earlier. That was for someone who's had 2 podiums this season. I think it's 2 anyway. Maybe I'm 106% sure. So I'm over 100. That he's had 2 podiums, and for someone who's done that, generally from fighting his way through quite a few people, he should really know better to have attempted that. But I will also point out that it's very easy to miss your braking zone sometimes. So, you just kind of like you're too focused on the car in front to you go, oh, I'm going to pull out in 2 seconds, in like now. Oh, we're in the braking zone, right? Well, damn.
Yeah, well, I must have missed it, didn't I? I didn't realise what was happening until the last moment. So certainly, you're right. If you're concentrating on the car in front too much, then that can cause you to make those little mistakes. And like you say, that was a problem that Barak could have had if he had kept Patel behind him a bit longer, because when you get distracted like that, especially on a circuit like this, it's often dangerous and can make you make mistakes. Patel then is a lot closer this time. Jaakko will get this move done into turn 7. He's got the slipstream surely. Off turn 5, he gets the launch, and now he's going to pick up the speed. They're going to go through turn 6, and this is where he's going to duck out the slipstream. Gosby tries to send him to the outside, but Patel's too clever for that. He's got the grip, he's got the tyres, and can Gosby hang on and get the inside now for turn number 8? Patel going to brave it around the outside. He leads in room. Good driving for Patel, and Patel has got it done. So a good move from Mohamed Patel. He's up to 2nd in this race. We don't know what strategy he's on, but at the moment it looks good for him.
Yeah, I mean, when you look at like his best lap in comparison to Rob van Starkenburg's, his best laps are 139.725. Rob van Starkenburg's 141.216. Rob van Starkenburg, though, obviously, we've noticed that he's lapping consistently. He's lapping very well. Patel trying to move his way through his last lap was a wee bit slower. By wee bit slower, I mean quite a bit actually. He seems to have dropped a little bit off of his fastest lap, but nevertheless, he's going to go on the hunt for moving his way up the field. You can tell he's running quite a low setup. He's really, really close to the ground. As you pointed out some sparks earlier on, and that is absolutely what I'm seeing at the moment.
I want to pick up on that. It's a bumpy circuit, isn't it, Singapore?
It is.
Because of course, around the year it's just streets. Just there's your bus stop signs on the road and that sort of thing. So it's a bumpy circuit, Singapore, and that is something that in real life certainly causes discomfort to the drivers and adds to the physical challenge. And certainly most of these, all of these drivers will be driving with force feedback wheels and such, and that can it can of course make it a bit more enjoyable, a bit more real. If you feel all these bumps and you really get the essence of this street circuit, it is a really fantastic experience to drive through. It's very different to Monaco because it's a city, Singapore, isn't it? You've got the skyscrapers all around. And it's in the night time, and you really capture the essence of the city, I think.
Yeah,
because you can actually see the buildings from the track as well. It's not like Valencia, which you just see walls and that's it. It does seem to have some character, this Singapore circuit. It's one of the better new street circuits, I certainly think.
Yeah, it's an interesting circuit. It's different that it's at night time. We all like our nighttime races, obviously, with Bahrain next year. Not in FSR, we're not really sure on then, but Bahrain next year in Formula 1 going to be a night, possibly a night race, which that'll be. Very interesting. Always like my night races. They're always a bit different. There's just a different atmosphere around them. The drivers approach them in a different way because it's something that you don't see. It's like going to Monaco. You go to Monaco, you go there once. I mean, it's a different experience. You're going to a night race. It's a different experience, especially when we haven't been here for a few years. It's always nice to have that different experience. Not like going to some tracks like Valencia. Some drivers kind of like it's just another race. Whereas this it's just a bit different because of that night aspect, and some of the drivers, it's a bit like Marmite, this one, and if you're not British you probably won't know what that means, but basically it's a love it or you hate it. Not many people kind of sit on the fence.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Is Marmite a worldwide phenomenon? I'm not quite sure.
Probably other countries have it, but they're not too sure. If
they're not so keen on their Marmite, no. Perhaps. Balak, meanwhile, catching up to Gosby, and this is a pass he really needs to make, really, because he's going to fall back. Will it be 20 points behind Van Starkenburg if it finished as it is now? How do the points work? Yeah, it would be 20 points.
Yeah, it would be 20 points behind, yeah. Oh, actually, would it be 15? God, I need to go check. Give me 2 seconds.
Yeah. Well, while you're working on that, basically, it's important that Burlak passes Gosby. If we're assuming that if Gosby finishes sort of third or lower, that he's going to have a real uphill struggle trying to win the championship over these last few races. If we assume that Gosby's out of it, it'll be a battle straight between Burlak and Stuyken. Of course, there's still time for Burlak and Van Stuyken to have retirements, to have really bad races, and Gosby to win, and then he'd be right back in it. But for now, if Gosby was to fall out of the championship hunt, then this is a pass that Burlak really needs to make, and this is something that Van Stuyken needs his teammate to step up to the mark on and defend him. Defend a chance to at least bring one Precision Motorsports car to the end of the year with a championship. Of course, we just take a little look at something we haven't talked about really. In the Constructors' Championship, Precision Motorsports do have quite a good lead there over Peter Burlak's Crystal Racing. It's 781 points to 720. So
I think they might.
They've done such a good job, haven't they? Those Precision cars all year. It looks like.
Yeah, I don't think they can be champion this time. No, they can't be. They can't be champion this time out. But they
can come close, certainly.
They can come very close, very close. Because I think they need 180 points lead. But it's just like those two. You look at Precision and Twister, and you know they're on 781 and 720. Okay, then you look at GT Omega, who are no slouch, and they're on 288. That's almost 500 points. That is
perhaps
the most ridiculous margin.
It's perhaps a product of the point system as well. It really rewards wins, doesn't it? Because it goes down so quickly. It's 50, 40, 30. So it's 10 points there for the podium. It really rewards podiums, to be honest. So that means those two teams with the top 4 drivers are going to really pull away, because after that it goes down in sort of 3s instead of 10s. So it's definitely a point system which rewards podiums, rewards consistency. That's a good thing. A lot of people, I'm sure, would argue, and I can certainly see that point of view. Anybody wants to pick up on any of these points we're making on YouTube, please feel free. We've got a very quiet comment stream today on YouTube, but please feel free to voice your opinions, and we'll make sure they're heard on the stream. For now,
we all like our questions. You can ask us questions. Yes, ask us questions. We'll answer.
How is it to watch a race when everybody's in a grey touring car? That's something that only I can answer right now.
That is something that only you can answer, and to be honest, I wouldn't know the answer to that question. You need to get that from an expert.
I think I've noticed that all the cars actually have green writing on the sides that says temp as well.
Temp, yes, because you've got the temp car.
I've got the temporary car, so there we go. And there's a little black windscreen actually. So Ralph Factory have done a good job in making
making a quick temp car. They've just kind of like plodded a few polygons together and gone, ooh, that's good. It
reminds me of Gene Rally, isn't it? I'm wondering if any of you race Gene Rally. It looks like we're racing a big version of Gene Rally right now. I guess you know what that is then. We're getting word then that Burlak is on Gosby, right? He's caught up to Gosby, isn't he? He's looking up the inside there in turn 7. He's not going to do it this lap, but he can stay on the back. He might be able to do something into the Singapore sling, although that's not advised.
Well, this will be super important for Burlak, because not only is it the 5 points for moving past Gosby, it could even impact what he's going to be doing with Mohammed Patel later on. So, you know, it could be for second position. We're not really sure where Patel's going to end up at the end of this race, or what's going to happen.
Look at Gosby over the curbs there, and this is a corner where you can surprise. It's very tight if you do. We saw Massa making a pass into here, I remember, in the F1.
Oh yeah, Bruno Senna, and completely sideways.
Yeah, that was it. Yes, I remember that. Yeah, that was brilliant. And Burlak now the outside of the bridge. He's been very fair, staying within the white lines, but he gets the run there. He gets the traction off the corner down into turn 15 and 16, and Burlak has the position. He's up to 3rd place, so a good little pass there from Burlak. He just stayed the course and managed to get past, and we're seeing that, aren't we, today at Singapore? People are staying side by side for a few corners, and that's really promising for the rest of the weekend, the sort of racing we're going to get. We're certainly interested to see how the World Trophy drivers deal with this.
Yeah, that's going to be really interesting, because the way it works, you know, with you're constantly going back on yourself, and you're going right, and then you're going left, and then you're going left, right, left, right, and it's kind of it's a unique profile of a circuit that allows people to actually surprisingly go side by side if you're with a driver that you absolutely trust. You have to trust the driver. There is no way around that. You have to absolutely trust the driver that you're going wheel to wheel with. And I think World Trophy is going to be very interesting around a circuit like this, because the thing with the World Trophy drivers is you can't ever put them down. You may go like, oh, well, they're in the lowest league of FSR, and trust me, that doesn't matter. These guys are quick. They are very fast.
Balak, of course, proved himself in the World Trophy last year. Zoltan Suti also coming for the World Trophy last year, proving that they can race with these good drivers like Ravan Sarki. But of course, it's not a new development. He finished 4th in the World Series last year, so Ravan Sarkenberg is a proven driver, and definitely proving the World Trophy is an excellent proving ground for new talent, and certainly you can't put them down. You'll be commentating tomorrow on the World Trophy, Lewis?
I will be. I've made sure that I will be doing that because one of my friends is taking part in it, and I need to commentate on how terrible his driving is.
Yeah, I remember the same with Jonathan Holmes. It's always good fun. Will you be waking up for the F1 perhaps in the morning?
Oh, of course I'll be waking up for the F1.
Me too, and I expect you shall have a very tired
commentary team
tomorrow for the World Trophy. Patel was
in the pits, yes.
From second place. He had an excellent pit entry. That was really professional. How he did that, I'm quite impressed with that. But that flies by then, and we'll see where he comes out. He's got to hope it's not in traffic, because I reckon you're right then. I reckon Jaakko was right, our cameraman today. I reckon he was right that we will be. He was on the soft tyres even, because he's pitted much earlier, and whether it can work out for him or not, this strategy, it will be interesting to see, because we're way past halfway now. We're on lap 35 out of 61, and it'll be interesting to see how Patel goes from here.
Yeah, the thing is with Patel, as I've said earlier on, is that he's really shown himself in this part of the championship, obviously with the 2 podiums last time out, and driving that car that he currently is in, he's looking like he's on really, really good form. I actually think this is based on the Mercedes, which always looks nice. But the thing is he's looked like he's on top form. Maybe not the form for a win, but definitely the form for another podium. And I think I'm just going to check this, because I think I need to have a little look with him. Is that he is a very, very good driver, and he's been definitely proving himself recently with the podiums that he's had. And I have just had a look. He didn't have a podium last time out. He was 5th last time out, but he had a podium 2 times before. So he's really showing himself recently, and maybe, just maybe, he'll be able to push himself towards the more pointy end before the end of the year. There's 3 races left, including this one that we're currently in, which I don't think he's going to be quite there. But we've got 2 races after this, so there's quite a lot that can be pushed.
He has in fact had 3 podiums this year, Patel, because he also finished 3rd in Germany. So Patel's had a good season, hasn't he? Considering he missed the first 4 rounds, and he also missed Spain, he's definitely done very well. Patel, for himself to get himself up to 6th. He's ahead of, say, Cyril Vermeulen, who's raced the whole race. He's ahead of the whole season. Even he's ahead of Antonio Kolarek, Erasmus Guli. He's done a really good job. Patel, and he's certainly proven himself, and showing that he's a fast driver that can really go with the best of them. Which is definitely something all these drivers want to use the World Series and the World Trophy to prove themselves, to try and launch themselves into those World Championship drives. And something I have to say, after Robban Starkenberg's performances recently, he did so well in the World Series last year, he's done brilliantly again this year, and Burlak, who's just launched through the ranks of FSR, I think those 2 will definitely be looking at a World Championship drive next year.
As I think Gosby should be also in that kind of area as well. Obviously, I'm just pointing out that Luka Oslakovic is on the back of Nick Rowland, but Gosby could have had a win in World Championship, which, I mean, in the World Championship, for someone other than Bono Huis to have, even the whiff of a win, is hugely impressive. And I think Gosby is one of these talents that should be, moving towards the World Championship after this. He's definitely got the talent for it, and with that, I absolutely think Burlack and Van Starkenberg do. Burlack's actually been racing in the World Championship quite a bit with Twister, in fact, alongside Edouard Malorqui, so he's actually got his teammate up there in the World Championship. I think I've seen them in quite a few races, maybe a couple of races. They've actually been up there together as a teammate. I'm not sure if they're doing it this time out. But those three drivers, or even four, because I think Edouard Malorqui needs to be up there as well. I think they deserve to be up there. Mohamed Patel. But the problem is it's like in F1, we have only a limited amount of seats and and quite a lot of people that can fill them. So it's a bit hard to say. And I was just about to point out that Edouard Malorqui has Zoltan Suti for company. I think Zoltan Suti's just pitted, but I'm not sure. But either way, they're in each other's company heading down towards turn 7.
Yeah. These you're right. It's tough because there are limited seats, and of course you don't want any good World Championship talent to fall out of their seat as well. So it's all about replacing the talent that perhaps leaves, and it's all about proving yourself in these leagues. And it's so great to see success stories like Peter Burlack, who did so well last year, and I think he'll be a real force to be reckoned with. And of course, people complain that World Championship is boring, but with these new talents growing up through the ranks, you've got to expect that sometime soon someone will be able to challenge that front two of Morand and Twies and all the other elites there, like Jack Keighley, for instance. Jack Keighley, an excellent talent that won the World Series last year and already is making his mark on FSR in the World Championship.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is with Bono is that I kind of agree with Scott, is that he needs a new challenge, and that's the thing, is that this is something that I've brought up in Formula 1 now. Yes, obviously with Sebastian, I don't hate Sebastian at all. He's a very good driver. The thing is that there are two different people related to Formula 1, okay, and I think that's the same thing with here in the World Championship. Is that there's two different people. There is the drivers, or the teams or anything like that, the people that want the good results, and then there's the spectators, the people who are watching this as an entertainment, which as commentators we watch it for entertainment. And so for us with Bono, it's kind of like we can see such a huge talent there. He's very, very good, but for us looking for an entertainment thing, it's not a particularly interesting thing for us to consistently see the same primary fact taken away from the weekend, which is that Bono Huis has won the World Championship. And obviously with him being able to wrap it up this time out, it's kind of like, where are we going to go next year? What is going to happen with Bono?
Yeah, I mean, just keeping an eye on Patel and Gosby, who are having a little bit of a fight right now. Patel probably catching up on those new tyres after his pit stop. Yeah, like you say about Sebastian, I was at the British Grand Prix this year. I was in the general admission crowd, and when Sebastian retired, the cheer was crazy. It really, were you there?
No, I caught you, but I mean, I couldn't even imagine being there. On the TV, you could hear it so much.
I found myself going, yes! Now, that was kind of because I really liked Nico Rosberg, and I was very happy Rosberg was now in the race. However, after a second, I stopped myself and I said, why are you... I actually said out loud, why are you doing this? And I said, he's not a terrible guy. He's alright. He's funny. I've seen him on plenty of interviews, Top Gear and on the BBC. He's a great character. He's much better than Schumi, I have to say. Yeah,
I would agree.
He's a great guy. He's a great ambassador for the sport. As we watch Patel go to the outside of Gosling into turn 7, is he going to get this one done? That's a very impressive move from Patel late on the brakes around the outside. Patel is looking good. He's probably doing one more stop than everybody else, I'm guessing, and he's nearly going to catch Burlack, so it looks like it's paying off for him. As I was saying, I actually said that, and they couldn't explain themselves. The guy next to me was, I don't really know, I just don't like him. It's odd. He's just good. It's kind of people don't like to see someone being too good.
It's because that's what I mean, is that when you've got so many people watching Formula 1, or even here we've got loads of people that watch FSR, and it's kind of like, I guarantee most of the audience for this would rather see someone else. Not that that's anything against Bono, it's that when someone's doing really, really well, and by really, really well, I mean, when we're going into a race predicting a result, same with like Formula 1 this weekend, I came in here predicting that Seb was going to win anything, and I'm not going to spoil anything at all. But you go into a weekend, you're going, oh, Seb is just gonna win yeah, he's going to get pole and he's going to run away with it. And that's not fun. That's the same like with FSR. You know, I'm going into this weekend and I'm kind of looking at the World Championship going, you know, Bono's going to take pole and he's going to run away with the win. Possibly for his championship, maybe. I think that might have to wait another round, but, you know, it could be sorted out here.
I wonder, a point I want to make, I wonder if it's any fun for Bono. I know Vettel certainly enjoys himself.
I really want to ask him that, because I was talking to a driver who has run away with a few victories. I talked to him quite a while ago. It's actually a really lengthy conversation. It's super, super interesting talking with someone who is, you know, as successful. It's kind of like, you asked him and he was like, did you ever get bored from running away with the wins? And he said, no. There's something different about like running away with the wins when it's against people who are very, very good. The thing is that with Bono, he's been doing that for 4 years now, and even then, surely that's got to be somewhat degrading. That it's, I don't know. That can't be too much fun.
Certainly, as a cycling fan, when Lance Armstrong was dominating that sport, he won 7 in a row. I
remember that. Well,
that was, but yeah, that was something which nobody complained about at the time, because he was such an exciting. I mean, we now know why, but he was such an exciting. He was such an exciting rider, and you know, he sometimes got in trouble and he fought back. He always looked. They always made it a challenge. You know, it was always. It's like once he crashed and then he passed everyone because he was so full of adrenaline and other things. And it was really exciting. Whereas when someone dominates from pole in a motor race, because this is often the problem with motor racing, this is the one thing where motor racing doesn't really work as a sport, is that the idea is that everyone lines up from the fastest to slowest. So what's going to happen? The fastest is going to pull away, and the slowest is going to go to the back. That's just how it works. What you need is something like rain, something like a crazy start.
We will have a bit of rain.
Something like that to make it really interesting, or a driver on different strategies. That's what you need. And of course, FSR doesn't have that at the moment. I think there are things FSR can do to make the racing more competitive. I'd be interested to see people's comments on that. But I certainly think that it's still good to watch. There's still great battles in the midfield, and I think there's good new talent coming through as well that will be able to challenge for those podiums, for even those wins in the future. I do think that. I do think there is a future for FSR, and I think there's a future for Bono Ruiz as well, because I think he'll get new challenges. I'm sure of it. He can't be the only one who's that good.
Sorry. Yeah. Well. No, I mean Morgan Moran. I'll get to this in a minute, because Adrian Rodriguez is very, very close to the back of Nick Rowland. But I think I said this last time out of the World Championship, that Morgan Moran I think is faster on one lap, but Bono Ruiz can repeat it many, many times, far too many times, and is very, very consistent, and that's the difference. But you know, I think with FSR the next step would be moving up into R Factor 2, which I've seen quite a bit of sim racing on it now since we did the Winter Series, which was just it's not a mistake, because you know it was the Winter Series. It was an experiment that, you know, I think needed to be done. But it didn't really work out. Adrian Rodriguez once again. There's been a bit of...
Nick Rowland saved that.
Yeah.
Good job from Nick Rowland to keep that one on the track, not in the barriers.
Indeed. Adrian Rodriguez, though, is going to move up the inside. It's going to be a contact. Yep. That was a bit of Adrian Rodriguez diving down a bit too late, and Nick Rowland not particularly looking too much in his mirrors. But, you know, he turned in as Adrian Rodriguez was there, but that was a bit of a late dive.
Rodriguez was quite late on the break.
Quite late. Very, very
James
late.
Hunt would say it was a little bit naughty.
A little bit naughty.
Yes, definitely Rodriguez perhaps taking some liberties there with Nick Rowland. I'm not sure what Nick thought of that. It's very
probably wouldn't be too happy.
Probably wouldn't be too happy. Nick's quite a relaxed guy. I'm sure he's not going to be getting too angry, but definitely, maybe, I mean, you don't know, perhaps Rodriguez has worn out, at this stage of the run, everybody's worn out their tyres a bit. It's a bit harder to judge braking points and that sort of thing. I certainly find anyway. I mean, I'm rubbish. I've tried out these cars and I'm rubbish. But once you get further on, I become even more rubbish, and I can hardly guess when to brake. I know these drivers are brilliant, but definitely, the more worn your tyres get, the harder it is to judge and overtake, because the more you might slide, and the more you might do a Bruno Senna, as you say.
Oh yeah, that's always a fun move. That's a scary move. But no, the thing is that as I was saying before the excitement of Adrian Rodriguez moving on Nick Rowland, was that with R Factor 2, I think R Factor 2 is actually ready for sim racing to a point. It needs a bit of experimentation for the leagues to figure out what's to be done. But I think it's ready. The problem is that there's not enough stuff in it. There's not enough tracks or cars or things like that. That's why it's not actually ready. So, as a simulation standpoint, it's there. It just doesn't have the content, and that's why I don't think we'll be there next year. So, what I'm looking at the moment is Burlak and Patel pretty close to each other. Patel obviously trying to make his way to the front of the podium, really.
Patel's strategy has been brilliant, hasn't it? It's really working.
It's worked out for him.
I think it perhaps could be because nobody else seems to be taking this strategy. So he basically has no traffic of people on the same sort of speed as him to manoeuvre around.
So he just can get past them quite quickly.
He's just doing really well, and if he can get past Burlak here and build a gap before he makes his final pit stop, then he should be laughing for a second place. And even though Gosby has failed Van Starkenberg in his quest to be a good teammate and put a gap in between Burlak, he might get some help from Mohamed Patel today.
The thing is that excuse me, but you think of it, if that was Patel and Gosby, that would have been more places for Burlak to have.
That would have been brilliant.
To have been back, because that would have been very good for Van Starkenberg. But I mean, look at Van Starkenberg. He's got 17.1 second lead. That's huge. He can really pace himself at the moment, even though he may know that Patel, pretty much the one of the fastest cars on the grid at the moment. That's too much of a gap, especially when I think Van Starkenberg's got the softs to go on yet. So that's a huge gap.
And this is what I think people sometimes have a problem with. Van Starkenberg has been pacing himself now. He hasn't been pushing because he's been behind David Franco, I'm not sure which, for the last 5 laps. He's just been keeping that gap. He's been going. At a leisurely pace, to be honest. Rob Van Starkenberg.
He's controlling it.
You can see he could go much faster if he wanted to.
Patel past Burlak.
What's that? But Patel's made the move stick then, if you can perhaps rewind.
Yep, that was down towards the favoured overtaking a position, which I think, I can't remember because I've not got the track map. Yeah, it was turn 7.
Yeah, that's the one.
The favoured position for overtaking, which is actually where the DRS zone is in Formula 1, but we don't have that, so, they have to kind of make do.
My cars don't even have a rear wing.
My cars don't when I crash it into a wall.
But Burlak is hanging on, so he's not giving up completely on Patel, but Burlak's really got to go fast now, hasn't he? Because Patel's got to pit probably one more time, I'm guessing, and so has Burlak, you'd think. But Patel will have to probably pit sooner, and then Burlak can perhaps stay out a little bit longer. But I expect that Patel will set fast laps if he gets clean air, and probably pull away.
That's a good point.
Great point from Jaakko, is that we may well see brake failures. That is something we've often seen at Singapore, and something that we'll have to watch out for today. And Patel making all these overtaking manoeuvres coming up through the field a few times after pitting. Well, he's got to watch out, hasn't he?
He does indeed, but the brake failure thing, that's actually a really, really good point. We've got quite a lot of heavy braking zones on this circuit, and when you're consistently in the slipstream of car, you're not getting the brakes cooled enough, and so they're overheating, and I don't think, we have them catch fire like Jev in qualifying.
That was quite something.
But, well, Esteban Gutierrez, that was quite something else. But the thing is that they're going to be overheating some of these brakes, and for Rob Van Starkenberg, I don't see that being a particularly large issue. He can really pace himself on the brakes. Yeah. Brake 50 metres early for a corner and just really cool them.
That's the great thing, isn't it, about getting out front and dominating these races like that, is that it snowballs the advantages you can get. And that's one reason why you sometimes do see this in motor racing. You see a great race for sort of second, like we've seen today. And that is one problem. I don't think races are boring. I don't think this race has been boring by a long stretch. We've had some great racing for the second, third, fourth positions, for the rest of the podium places. But if you get someone who's fast, like Van Starkenberg, can get out front, get all the benefits of getting that front running in clean air, not hurting the tyres, being able to look after his car, and that can cause these races where everybody else is battling but the leader, and people want to see battles for the win. And to be fair, I certainly saw it earlier in the year in World Series, and I've certainly seen it this year in World Trophy. Meanwhile, that's Patel coming up very fast on David Franco, manages to get past, but nearly a nasty accident, it looked like that.
Yep, also Silver Miller on the back of Zoltan Sutian. I will take this to and bring this to a point, is that usually without like dramas like fire trucks appearing on track and things like that, and people pouring water into people's pockets, the thing is the one fact that you take away from the weekend is who the winner was. Okay, that's the big fact that you take away, is who won the race. Okay, and this is my problem with the World Championship at the moment, is who won the race. You know, it's usually Bono. Here we kind of go through the stages of changing quite a bit, and throughout the grid, you know, we've got a lot of movement, a lot of decent overtaking opportunities. It's just when you have someone running away from the win, that one fact just doesn't feel quite as good. Silver Miller on the inside on Zoltan Suti down towards turn 7, gets that move done, but Zoltan Suti is back on the outside. Silver Miller.
Well, Ferdinand really put his car
right
in the place it needs to be there in turn number 8. That was quite a brave thing to do, because if Suti hadn't been quite so what's the word? Hadn't been quite so
aggressive.
I'm trying to think of a word for passive almost.
Passive, yeah.
If Suti hadn't let him do that, then there could have been a nasty accident there, and Ferdinand could have destroyed all that he's been working hard towards, because he's just chipped away at Cyril Vermeulen in this race today. He's up to 6th now. That's very impressive, considering where he was earlier in the race. He's just done solid laps. He's passed cars, and he's up to 6th place.
So we're also being told that Burlak is absolutely not dropping off the back of Patel. He's kind of dropped off a bit, but you know, recently there's 1.4 between them. There's not too much of a gap growing anymore, and I think this could be Patel's tyres may be going off. I think he's got a pit for the harder tyres, unless he's actually on them now.
But I doubt it from the pace
I kind of doubt it from the pace he's shown, yeah.
Patel's got to open a gap though, hasn't he? Because if Burlak can run the softs, then Patel really does need to.
Yes.
There's no time. Right, no tyre rule.
I consistently forget this. I always forget this, because the way that all the rulings are for World Championship, World Series and World Trophy is that they're all kind of similar, with some differences, and I always forget the little differences. And World Series is one that you don't actually have a tyre rule, you can use whichever you want, so you don't have to use the softs and the hards and things like that. So it's interesting to see how that works out, and Patel probably going on for another stint of softs. Burlak could possibly do the same, and then it's outright who's the fastest.
Yeah, definitely could be interesting if Patel needs to pit a bit earlier than Burlak. If he goes for hards because he needs them to get to the end, and then Burlak can go for softs because he pits later, that could be interesting strategy-wise. Someone?
No, I'm having a little bit of a live timing wibbly-wobbly timey-wimey.
Burlak's coming in, and so is Patel. They're both coming in at the same time, in fact.
Yeah, no, sorry, it's
coming
just
in at the same time.
Yeah, they are both coming in at the same time, so they're probably both going on to the softs, as I said. But the thing is that my live timing was just messing about a bit, because it's now states that Burlak is in 6th, which he I
got the same.
Oh dear.
Pitting in the same pit stop.
Oh,
that's quite an interesting bit to do.
That has happened quite a few times before, and I forced someone to wait 117 seconds whilst I was using their pit stop in some sim racing a little while ago. It was a huge.
What sort of race was that? Why did it take 117 seconds? I mean,
it's all right. It was the R Factor 2 McGann's. And it's alright because they fixed it from the race that was previous, because it was like a 900-second pit stop, which, you know, is just like, why bother? That's 15 minutes. But yeah, no, it was a huge pit stop. I did cause my car quite a lot of damage, though. I did plough into some bollards at Croft, so you know that's always fun.
You know, something I like is on that straight when you exit turn 5 down to turn 6. Something I like is the three words written on the road as slow.
Yeah, you ain't going slow in these cars.
I always found that fun to recognise. I think it's the same in F1 actually.
Yeah.
Nobody ever picks up on it, but it's quite a funny little irony there. Van Starkenberg, meanwhile, is in the pits. What is surely his final pit stop? Will Gosby even manage to? Is Gosby probably too far back to even take the lead this time by Looks like Van Stukenberg probably will just exit with the lead.
Yep, quite possibly.
He's out. He's coming out now.
Wow, that is a huge lead.
It's massive, isn't
Gosby's going to be entering the pits as well, so that's massive. That's absolutely huge.
Yeah, Van Stukenberg could just coast home now. He can almost walk and still win the race. Maybe not, but
he'd have to be walking pretty damn quick.
Yes, yeah. Van Stukenberg has a big lead right now. And Martin Gosby, where is he going to come out? That's quite important. Behind Malorky. So Malorky, maybe he's stayed quiet, hasn't he? He made a great start here with Malorky. Then he dropped off the radar because perhaps he abused his tyres just a bit too much, a bit too slow. He got caught up in some traffic, and now Malorky can come back into it. Now he's had clean air. He's been running solidly, and now he can perhaps try. I believe he has one more pit stop to make, but he can perhaps try and compete for at least a top 5 position. Although Cyril Vermeulen will also be looking for a top 5 after he's had a very solid race. Sultan Suti, he's fallen down, hasn't he? He hasn't been so consistent with his lap times. He's a whole minute behind the leader of Van Starkenberg, and he's down in 7th place. That's disappointing for Sultan Suti. It's a shame because he seems like such a great talent. He's got such speed, but he just can't quite seem to translate it into race performances in this World Series Championship.
Yeah, especially considering he was running 2nd or 3rd earlier on in the race. So yeah, it's a shame that it's worked out by that. He also the way the track works is that you go quite close to another part of the track, which is just where Zoltan Suti's gone. He just saw Burlak go past. That must feel horrible. Just to know that was kind of the area that I could have been in, but something just hasn't worked out here for Zoltan Suti. Maybe it's tyre wear or things like that, or you think of it. Okay, now if you lose like a second, just a second lap, if you're a second lap slow, which sounds like a huge margin, but you can easily be a second slower than someone. Like, trust me. Someone go and find out if they're a second slower than Bono Huis, because I'm sure there's many people. But you lose a second a lap. Okay, now over that's 50 seconds here, which actually is the gap at present between Zoltan Suti and the leader. So you're looking at 50 seconds there. So maybe it is just a second a lap, which doesn't sound too terrible in a race scenario. But over the course of a race, that becomes quite a huge gap.
Yeah, and certainly I know the feeling where perhaps you're not quite so motivated to race. You feel you're as fast as someone, but you end up at the end of the race 20 seconds behind them, and you're wondering how it happened. And it's just because you might have let one corner slip here. I'm asking Gosby, well, I'm on board with him right now. He just went a bit wide at turn 7, just letting things slip here and there, not staying hooked up for the entirety of the race, not staying concentrated, and it can just slip away from you, and you don't know where all the time's gone.
Yeah, someone who's trying to find some time is Peter Burlak, who is in 3rd position, obviously making his way. He's trying to get right up to the back of Mohammed Patel, who's going to be closing on the 2nd sector split as they pass the corner over the bridge. And 15.1, there you go, it has gone down. So they are closing up on each other. Peter Burlak obviously wants that 2nd position, because what that 2nd position means is obviously 10 more points. But more importantly, that's joint championship lead. That means he won't lose it. So he'll still be there or thereabouts. They'll be on the same points, Rob Van Starkenberg and Peter Burlak, which I think at this stage of the championship is an incredibly impressive thing to state that the 2 championship leaders are on exactly the same points.
Yeah, and it's certainly something that Peter Burlak will want, because it will mean he's not having to chase. It will mean that if he finishes ahead of Van Starkenberg in the next race, he'll take the lead. If he's 10 points behind, then he can finish one position ahead and not take the lead. Where he'll have to finish multiple positions ahead. Whereas if he can get it equal, then he knows it's just an out-and-out race in the next race to take the championship lead. I've just been reading the YouTube comments, and about what we were talking about earlier with domination and that sort of thing. FBU Pesh was saying, yeah, commentators, you're right about Vettel and about Huis, but he was commentating on the viewing numbers, and he's saying tomorrow will probably be much the same. Carlos Martin saying in World Championship usually we get a bit more than that, so Carlos Martin staying optimistic for the viewing numbers tomorrow. FBU Pesh saying people like when someone is too good, they just don't like when someone is dominating, because they destroy the sport, make it boring, just like F1 between 2000 and 2004. I think Schumacher is a less likeable character, like I said, than say Vettel, or even Huis is quite a likeable guy from what I've seen.
I've never spoken to Huis.
No, I've seen him speak to other drivers, and he seems alright. He seems like a reasonable guy. And I've heard him speak, I think, in they used to get drivers in and onto the broadcast a few years ago in FSR when I was just watching it and didn't commentate.
Oh, sorry to cut you up, because Adrian Rodriguez is going to be right on the back of Luka Oslakovic as they head down in towards turn 7. Who's going to be late on the brakes, very close to the board as Adrian Rodriguez get, but he puts his way right through turn 7, absolutely excellently, defends through 8, and takes P8 from Luka Oslakovic.
Good work from Adrian Rodriguez, who was one of the other ones who's just been having a solid race. As I was saying, it is kind of about a personality sometimes when it comes to things like motorsport. You have to. It's not just about how you drive on the track, and some people would be disappointed in that. Some people want that. Getting used, Gosby is on the back of Malorki, which he really is. Yeah, Gosby going to pass Malorki on his new tyres. Malorki still hasn't pitted, so I wonder if he's trying something a bit different. Surely Gosby will have this one easily down the straight, unless Malorki's. Yeah, that's a little bit naughty from Edward Malorki, but Gosby's going to have the inside, and he should easily do this. And Gosby, that was an expertly done pass. He just didn't let Malorki have any space there on the exit of the corner. That's a really well done pass from Martin Gosby, using his new tyres to his advantage.
Yeah, it was fair by Malorki down the straight, because Gosby actually wasn't alongside, so he had every right to shut that door, and Gosby, not fazed by it, still got the move done.
Yeah, good work from Martin Gosby to just stay professional and not let his emotions get the better of him, and now he should put away and try and maybe catch Burlak, but Burlak's about 10 seconds down the road, so that'll be a real job for Martin Gosby to get on the podium today, unless anybody has any retirements, which obviously we wouldn't wish on anyone. It is interesting how motorsports is a personality game. That's something you sometimes miss in sim racing. As you say, some guys get much more involved in talking on the forum and talking after the race and chatting to the other drivers, making friends, and some guys don't, and it's just something that is up to personal preference, really. And I think it's quite important, because I think it's important that other drivers respect you when they're racing against you. They're not scared of you going to hit them, or aren't going to show them enough respect and give them enough space on the track. So I think it can be quite important to really develop your personality around the other drivers. Talking about the other comments, people commented on the World Series Championship, which of course is always good, because that's what we're watching right now. The Ikish asking, wasn't Burlak in the championship? Indeed he was, and if the results stay as they are, he won't be. It'll be a 20-point swing, and Burlak was leading by 10 points. He would be trailing by 10 points, in fact, after this race. He said, yeah, the points could be even closer after this race. Exciting final races to come. I certainly agree. I probably won't be commentating on the World Series. That's not my usual job, but I'll certainly be watching after today. I've made the mistake of not watching the World Series and not following it, and I've certainly looked like I've been missing out, because it's really close, really good to see a championship really going down to the wire like this, and yep, it's going to be a really good final few races.
Cyril Vermeulen is catching Zoltan Siti. Also, it's going to be a super interesting championship, as we all know, and unfortunately I will not be around to see its final round, as I'll be off somewhere else, and that I think is a real shame, because I'd really love to see where this championship's going to go, but it's something that obviously with us streaming onto YouTube now, that you can very quickly catch up. That's always a plus.
That's really good. It's really good. Oh, we've got a retirement.
Adrian Rodriguez engine.
Rodriguez, that is a shame. He
that
had
is
a
a very
good
big
race.
Shame.
He just passed Luka Oslakovic in back for 8th place, and he's fallen down the order, and he will be a DNF. That's
he has
that's
passed.
Really
I think he has passed. Has he passed 75? Yeah, he has passed 75%. That would have been.
So he'll get.
That would have been 10 laps.
Right?
So he'll get 10 points. 10 points, I think.
Yeah, for 4 points for his.
Yeah.
For his DNF. So yeah, good. So it's not so bad for Adrian Rodriguez, who's just not the sort of driver who's turning any heads at the moment in FSI. He's had a few finishes sort of in the top 10 positions. His best race this year has been Spain, where he picked up a P9. So he was on for his best finish of the year, Adrian Rodriguez, today.
Yeah, that was going for it, but just didn't quite work out. Danny Vandenito, having a look on David Franco, got very close to having a missing front wing. Watching
battle a bit further up the field, Burlak is on the back of Patel now, and Excellent. That is really interesting, because they both came out the pits together, of course, and they should be, we assume, on the same tyres, because they both have the same amount of time to go at the final pit stop of the race. and Burlak has shown that he has the pace to perhaps get past Mohammed Patel in these final laps, and it could be a really interesting battle, and it's crucial for the championship that Burlak puts up every point he can. 10 points here, passing Mohammed Patel, will be fantastic for his chances of picking up a second straight championship.
Yeah, so we've got 55 down, 6 to go, and what is going to happen between these two over those laps? Because as we've said time and time again, is that Peter Burlak, if he gets this move done, he will be in joint championship lead, and that is very, very important. You know, when you're moving into a championship which is looking, you know, every round it's swinging one way then the next, you know, you need every single point you can get. And you know, it's not like in Formula 1 where it's like the, you know, the odd point here, the odd point there. You know, you're talking about 10 points here. That's a huge map. You know, it's in Formula 1 that's about 3 points between P3 and P2, so it's hugely important. Danny Van Der Neet, though, in front of them. I think he may have clipped the wall. This is very interesting because Van Der Neet and Franco fighting in front of Patel and Burlak. How is that going to play out? Danny Van Der Neet gets completely out of the way. Will Franco?
Yeah, that's good work from Danny Van Der Neet. That's what we want to see, because this is a really important battle, and I hope that David Franco realises that and gets out of the way. And doesn't cause any problems with these two championship. Well, this championship battle, which is key. And Burlak's got the inside.
Oh wow!
He just what happened there? Has anything happened to Patel? Is that?
I'm getting a replay of that. That was completely unexpected. I was looking at something else.
Patel lost drive. Patel just lost it. Seemed to lose drive and met brake failure. Perhaps that's the only thing I can speculate so far, because
really
Patel had to brake a full 100 meters before Burlak, and that is
no. Hang on. Aren't Butto and Twister some sort of sister teams? I can't remember.
Oh yeah. Well, there we go.
I'd need confirmation of that.
They are, but you're right. Yeah, they are.
Yeah.
There you go. Butto, I know Jonathan Holmes drives for them, I'm pretty sure. So, and they are Twister. Does he? I don't know. But they are.
Yeah.
They are sister teams. You're right. And,
so that could be a little bit of team ordering involved.
A little bit of an order there, yep. And certainly Burlak won't be complaining too much. Can Franco get out of the way? And he does just right. Patel now has just got to hold stage and hold off Martin Gosby, because if Gosby comes fourth today, do you think that's his championship chances? Not mathematically over, but realistically over. With how consistent Van Starkenberg and Burlak are, I can't see them having races where they finish 8th or 9th or anything like that, which is what Gosby needs, because Gosby needs to win and have those two finish way down points.
Yeah, I can see it happening. I can still see him doing it, because he's, you know, he's super fast, but he needs to really bow it on for the next couple of rounds, which I don't know if he can do. But I'm surprised it took me 56 laps to work out that Patel and Burlak's sister team. That was really bad. I'm very sorry. I should have picked up on that.
I have no idea about teams at all.
I should. Yeah, exactly. You can't see them. I should have known that. Adrian Rodriguez leaves the server. We've had 4 DNFs, which actually isn't that bad. You know, we started with 16 people and we have 4 DNFs. That's actually, I think that's a better percentage than usual.
Yeah, I'd say it probably isn't so bad. Like I say, even Alex Diaz in last place of the runners, +1 lap, still hasn't sniffed the points of 2 more guys, say have a brake failure or something. They're still fighting Van Der Neet and David Franco for that final position that gives you extra points if you like. Actually, no, that's wrong, because P12 and P11. So everybody here is going to get more points than 10 that finishes. Alex Diaz is going to get 11 points. So that's always good. So any position here will pick up extra points.
Yeah, and points in this championship, especially in the lower end, you know, you can actually move up quite a few positions with the extra couple of points. And Van Der Neet knows it, and he's trying to get past David Franco, but just isn't ever close enough. Franco goes a bit deep at 7, but is keeping it under control. One person though keeping the race completely under control with a 16.8 second lead is obviously Rob Van Starkenberg.
Yeah, I'm just getting Van Der Neet actually has the inside there. They both cut completely. Now, if that's legal, that's legal, I suppose. But that's an odd thing to see. I'm sure that line isn't any faster.
I think there was a bit of contact between the two of them, and
I think there was. Yeah, I'm sure nobody will be too worried about that in this epic battle for 11th place. Although, you know, it is a point. It's always good to have points. I'm being teased by broadcast director Sam Jones for not knowing about for spending the whole race. He says stupid Tucker spending the whole race thinking Patel will race Peter to the flag. Yeah. Oh, and there's contact again between Van der Neet and Franco, and they both managed to save it. That's pretty impressive driving from these two, considering they're not at the top end of the field, but they still both saved it there, and they were both in a bit of a slide. That's very impressive, really, because these cars can get a bit... Yeah, lucky there's no safety cars, because otherwise that would muck up the end of the race, wouldn't it? With these two driving like they are. Patel, meanwhile, is... they're
going again. They're going again. Yeah. Van der Neet side by side with Franco through 5, and I think, slow. They ain't going to. Sorry.
Franco once again keeping it, but Van der Neet swaps back to the inside. Clever little move there, but it didn't quite pay off for him. And Franco still has the position. He's trying up the inside there of turn 8, but that doesn't give him any sort of reward. And he touches the back of Franco again. Franco really slow off turn 9 there, and on the straight towards the Singapore Sing.
The Singapore Sing.
It's been a long race. The Singapore Sling. And Van der Neet, see how much curb he took there. This is a really scrappy battle between these two here, and they both really want it. It's keeping us amused, that's exactly right. And the other battle I was about to say is Patel is catching back up to Burlak a little bit.
Yeah, but I think now that it's taken me this long to figure it out, is that there's nothing that's going to happen between the two of them. I think Patel won't do anything there, even if he was faster. I think Burlak might be a little faster. He might be able to pass him by himself, but as Sebastian Vettel said in the press conference earlier today, it's not a good thing to do. What if Burlak and Patel have been allowed to race? The fact is that Burlak is ahead, and that's it. And the championship lead, if it stays as it is, will be tied at the end of this race, which is really good to see going into the final few rounds. Gosby looks a fair bit back. He's caught up to Patel a little bit actually, but he's not going to do it, I don't think, in the final couple of laps we have. Right, that's interesting.
What?
Nick Rowland's pitted this late.
That's interesting.
I think maybe his tyres are just gone.
Do you reckon that could happen to any of our leaders? I mean, I think not Rob van Stuyken, but he's not been coming to do anything.
He's been pacing himself, and Burlak either.
Burlak hasn't been having to anyway. We thought he had to really catch up and pass Patel, but we were wrong.
Maybe Malorki, because he's been on these tyres for a long time. I don't know what tyres he's on at the moment.
Malorki, you're right, hasn't had to make a pit stop for a while.
But he's not dropped off his pace too much. I don't see him in judging pits. I don't see this happening to anyone else. It was
and looks like everybody also has managed to keep their brakes intact as well, it seems, unless we see anyone with a failure in the final lap. But very well, Peter Burlak knows all about brake failures. I remember him having one in the World Trophy last year. I can't remember what race it was. I also remember what Peter Burlak getting crashed out by, I believe it was a lapped car. I forgot his exact name. It was Tommy someone. In Canada last year, I remember that very well. And Burlak finished in the race with 3 laps. 3 wheels. And Suti spins! Suti has a spin there in the Singapore Sling. What happened there? And has Suti lost tyres? Has Suti lost brakes?
He's not moving very quick. I think that's DNF.
He's crawling along. And Suti's going to have to DNF. Yeah, right. He's in a terrible position right now. Who's coming up to him next?
Alex Diaz. There you go. His engine.
Yeah, he's quit. And
maybe he downshifted too quickly. I've done that in these cars before. I went just driving them casually to see what's going to happen with them. You know, you've downshifted too many times, and it's quite an easy thing to do. However, down towards the Singapore Sling, Rob van Starkenburg comes on his final lap.
It's lucky that Suti got out the way before Van Starkenburg came through. It looked like, you're right, he just downshifted a bit too quickly. He lost all traction, as you do when you do that, and he just spun through the Singapore Sling. Very dangerous place to be sitting, and that's it. Suti after the race. That's a terrible shame, but up to 6th goes Cyril Verbuller, so he's happy to make up an extra position. And since this is the final lap, I believe, because the laps counter is laps completed, I'm pretty sure. Am I right?
I'm absolutely sure. It always messes me up.
Always get me. Yeah, but that means that Suti will indeed finish, unfortunately, behind everyone that's a lap down as well. So Zoltan Suti will finish in the 12th, I'm guessing, which is a real shame. If he'd managed to just get one more lap done, then he'd have done it. Van Starkenburg now is coming out of the final corners after a truly dominant drive. He is going to win round 13. He's going to take the joint championship lead with Peter Back. Great drive, great win for Rob van Starkenburg here today in Singapore.
Yeah, Burlack obviously following in to make sure that we have a joint championship leaving Singapore, and obviously this is round 13, so if this was, I think Singapore was the surprise track on their calendar that we didn't think we'd see. Also Franco and Van der Neat, I think they just changed positions, so Franco's now behind Van der Neat. Van der Neat though is in the wall.
Finally got it done, but Van der Neat spins going into the final corners. He loses it. I want to see what happened there. Give us a replay, please.
Oh, and look at Van der Neat. He's behind. He's dropped 2 more places.
Oh dear, and that's good for Nick Rowland, who gets up to 9th. And
sorry, it was just one place. There was a lapping car that went past.
And he in frustration spins out as he crosses the line. So Danny Van der Neat will finish in 10th place. Suti does indeed finish in 12th. Diaz 11th, and Nick Rowland managed to creep up to 9th place.
Look at Gosby, Burlack and Patel. What are they're having a little cruise.
Yeah, they're all just having a chat, perhaps. In their great touring cars.
As long as what happens in GP2, which was where they went into the pit lane and there was a big crash and things like that, that was quite interesting. But if you watch GP2 and you watch it after, I think it was the first race, there was a little bit after, there was a huge crash, but that was always interesting.
That doesn't sound too good. But,
it was not good. It looked like quite a hefty whack. But the thing is with Burlack,
immediately apologising to Franco. He says, "Sorry, Franco, it's okay." Was angry, and David Franco said, "I was so slow, sorry." And Danny Van der Neat says, "Nice defending."
Oh.
So there we go. That's some
well,
good
you can't read that
sportsmanship. And Zoltan Suti says,
"Not happy."
I'm not sure if I'm allowed to say.
You're not allowed to say that.
He says, "Yep." That and
not happy
again. So yeah, this is something I enjoy in F1. I always like it when they just put the camera into the pre-podium stuff and just say how the drivers are chatting, because when you first get out of the car, when you first leave the car in a sim race, it's always interesting to see their first response. Lots of people congratulated Rob, Peter Van Starkenburg, congratulated Rod and said, "Suti, I'll kill you." So I'm not sure what that's to do with anything.
Yeah, look,
and those first laps was that.
Yeah, early on. But, you know, for a surprise race on the calendar, the one that we didn't think we'd have, we thought we were going to have a 14-round championship. You know, looking into Abu Dhabi in a couple of weeks' time, we've got a nice championship on our hands. Joint championship lead, obviously, you know, it's going to be interesting. Mohamed Patel, though, excellent drive to put it on the podium, and in front of Goldsby, which...
This is 4th podium of the year, very impressive.
The reason why I didn't pick up on his German one, because I wasn't there for the German, I had mic problems back then, I think. But no, Burlack... That was an impressive drive to put it in 2nd. Patel, good job to put it in 3rd, but you can't take anything away from Rob van Starkenburg, who controlled the race, you know, as exact as he needed. His 3rd win of the season, excellently done, and that proves that he is absolutely in this championship to win it. He's not there to back up Gosby. He's not there just to, you know, sit around and loll about. He is there to win it.
Definitely, and I can't wait to either be in the commentary box or watching these final World Series races, because it's a fantastic series, as it was last year, and I loved commentating on it last year, and I've loved doing it again with you today, Lewis. And I certainly look forward to these final couple of rounds, because that was really a great little race to watch, and definitely promising for the rest of the weekend and World Trophy tomorrow with you again, Lewis, which I'm looking forward to very much. Do you know what time that's on exactly?
12:25 British summertime. That's possibly wrong. I'll have a quick look. Give me 2 seconds.
We just run down the order.
Yeah, that is actually correct. It's 12:25 British summertime. So that was a good guess.
Okay, excellent. Everybody, make sure you're watching the World Trophy after you've got up for the F1, as I'm sure you will do, and make sure you're watching the World Championship as well later in the day. Rob van Starkenburg wins the race then. Peter Burlack 2nd. They're tied on championship points now. Mohamed Patel comes in an excellent third. Martin Gosby, who says he had quite a lot of damage from an incident early in the race, finishes 4th. Malorky 5th. Ferb Muller finishes an excellent 6th after making passing moves all throughout the day. Luka Ostakovic in 7th. David Franco in 8th. Nick Rowland in 9th. Danny Van der Neat finishes out the top 10 in 10th place. Alex Diaz finishes 11th. And Zoltan Suti, unfortunately, retired with 2 laps to go. In 12th place, Adrian Rodriguez also retired there in 13th, and 4 people who didn't complete the 75% distance Ryan Walker, Chris de Jong, Antonio Kolarek, and although that's me, so that doesn't count.
No, you don't. I'm sorry. I'm sorry to say this, James, but you don't count towards the championship.
in my beautiful car that I have, which they can't see. They actually can't see my beautiful sort of saloon car that I appeared on the track in. Hopefully, I'll get my SimSync fixed before the World Trophy tomorrow, so I can actually see the cars. That would always be an advantage to any commentator. Driver of the day, then, Lewis. Who would you say really impressed today?
Now, obviously, obviously you go with Van Starkenberg, but I'm not going to. Nope, I'm going with Patel, because Patel, from I think he qualified 8th, 9th, something like that, to get up into the podium again for the 4th time this year. Really impressive drive. And then I kind of think he could have held on to 2nd, but obviously with teamy weeby things, he had to drop back that position. But Mohammed Patel impressed me quite a bit today. Yeah,
definitely. I would like to say Patel because his strategy was fantastic. I have to say that. His strategy was really good, but I think I have to go Ryan Starkenberg just by how fast he was throughout the whole weekend and how he's really put the pressure on in the World Championship. He's done a fantastic job today, has Rob Van Starkenberg, and I've been very impressed with him. So definitely make sure you join us for the next race of the weekend, the World Trophy, and it's going to be goodbye then for now. I just reading out the comments. Just the final few comments, I might as well give them a shout out. The Ikish said the commentators are not stupid. Who knows all this stuff? I didn't know about the connection of these two teams. There we go. We're not stupid. Thank you. we're really grateful for that. Lots of people saying the last lap was the most interesting one of the whole race. I think the first laps were really good, and I thought there's been some good battles in the whole race, and I think it's really promising for the rest of the weekend. But for now, make sure you join us for the rest of the weekend, and it's goodbye from me.
I'm sorry, I was looking at something else. Goodbye from me.
Goodbye.